A crab pauses mid-step, its antennae sampling the water for danger, unaware that the surrounding reef has already been rearranged to seal its fate. What appears to be a cluster of discarded shells suddenly shifts, textures melting into motion as 8 arms unfurl with surgical precision. In a fraction of a second, the crab is enveloped, its defenses rendered meaningless not by brute strength, but by a predator that has anticipated every possible escape. The octopus does not announce its presence with speed or spectacle. Instead, it engineers inevitability. Within the intricate architecture of the coral reef, it transforms intelligence into territorial authority, exerting control not through dominance of scale, but through mastery of the immediate environment. The octopus represents one of the most profound evolutionary departures within the animal kingdom. As a cephalopod mollusk, it shares ancestry with creatures encased in rigid shells. Yet it has relinquished this protective armor in favor of extraordinary neurological and behavioral sophistication. Possessing a decentralized nervous system, where a significant proportion of its neurons reside within its arms, the octopus operates as a networked intelligence rather than a singular command center. Each arm is capable of semi-autonomous decision-making, allowing the animal to manipulate objects, explore crevices, and subdue prey with remarkable efficiency. This neurological arrangement enables a level of environmental interaction that transcends instinct, positioning the octopus as an active architect of its surroundings rather than a passive participant within them. Central to the octopus's ecological authority is its unparalleled capacity for camouflage. Specialized skin cells, chromatophores, iridophores, and leucophores, allow it to alter not only coloration, but also texture and reflectivity, effectively dissolving its physical boundaries within the reef. Muscular hydrostats beneath the skin enable the formation of papillae, three-dimensional projections that replicate the contours of coral, rock, or algae. This dynamic camouflage is controlled directly by the nervous system, allowing instantaneous adaptation to changing environments. The narrative reversal emerges here. What appears to be a fragile, soft-bodied organism is revealed as a master of invisibility, transforming vulnerability into an evolutionary superpower that permits both ambush predation and near-perfect evasion from its own predators. Beyond concealment, the octopus exerts influence through sophisticated environmental manipulation. Individuals frequently construct and maintain dens using rocks, shells, and fragments of coral, effectively engineering fortified shelters within the reef matrix. These structures serve multiple functions: protection from predators, strategic vantage points for ambush, and secure locations for brooding eggs. The deliberate selection and placement of materials demonstrate advanced problem-solving abilities and an understanding of spatial relationships. In some species, such as the veined octopus, individuals have been observed collecting and transporting coconut shells to assemble portable shelters, a behavior widely interpreted as evidence of tool use. Such actions blur the distinction between animal behavior and environmental engineering, underscoring the octopus's role as a micro-scale ecosystem manager. The octopus's hunting strategies further exemplify its tactical superiority. Rather than relying on speed or overwhelming force, it employs a repertoire of techniques tailored to the specific defenses of its prey. Crabs are subdued through precise envenomation, with the octopus injecting a neurotoxic saliva that induces rapid paralysis. Bivalve mollusks are pried open using coordinated arm movements, while more heavily armored species may be drilled through their shells using a specialized radula, allowing the venom to be delivered directly to the soft tissues within. Fish are captured through stealth and sudden enclosure, their escape routes preemptively blocked by the octopus's flexible limbs. Each method reflects a deep evolutionary refinement of predatory behavior, emphasizing efficiency and adaptability over raw physical dominance. A striking ecological twist arises when considering the octopus's influence on the spatial dynamics of reef communities. The presence of an octopus within a given territory can alter the behavior and distribution of numerous species. Crustaceans may avoid certain crevices, mollusks adjust their attachment sites, and small fish modify their sheltering patterns in response to the persistent risk of predation. This localized landscape of fear mirrors the broader ecological effects exerted by apex predators in larger ecosystems, demonstrating that dominance is not solely a function of size, but can also emerge from cognitive sophistication. The octopus, though physically modest, orchestrates a cascade of behavioral adaptations that ripple through the reef, subtly reshaping its ecological fabric. The reproductive strategy of the octopus introduces another profound narrative reversal. After mating, the female dedicates herself entirely to the care of her eggs, ceasing to feed and devoting her remaining energy to aerating and protecting the developing embryos. This terminal investment culminates in her death shortly after the eggs hatch, a phenomenon driven by complex hormonal changes within the optic gland. While this life history trait may appear as a tragic weakness, it represents an evolutionary strategy that maximizes offspring survival in an environment fraught with predation. The maternal sacrifice ensures that the next generation emerges into the reef with the greatest possible chance of success, illustrating how apparent vulnerability can serve as a mechanism of enduring ecological influence. Despite its mastery of the immediate environment, the octopus is not immune to predation, and its interactions with other reef inhabitants reveal a dynamic balance of power. Moray eels, groupers, and certain shark species are among its primary predators, capable of overcoming its defenses through persistence or opportunistic encounters. Yet even in these confrontations, the octopus's intelligence provides avenues for escape. Rapid color changes can create momentary confusion, while the expulsion of ink forms a smokescreen composed of melanin-rich particles and mucus that disrupt both visual and chemical cues. In extreme situations, the octopus can autotomize an arm, sacrificing a portion of its body to distract the predator while it escapes. The lost limb is subsequently regenerated, transforming a moment of vulnerability into a testament to the animal's remarkable resilience. The ecological significance of the octopus extends beyond its role as both predator and prey. Through the accumulation of discarded shells and prey remains around their dens, often referred to as middens, octopuses contribute to the structural complexity of the reef environment. These assemblages provide microhabitats for smaller organisms, enhancing local biodiversity and influencing nutrient cycling. In this way, the octopus functions not only as a consumer, but also as an ecosystem engineer, its behavioral byproducts shaping the physical and biological landscape of the reef. Cognitive research has further illuminated the depth of the octopus's intelligence, revealing capacities for learning, memory, and even individual personality variation. Laboratory and field studies have demonstrated problem-solving abilities, such as navigating mazes, opening containers, and distinguishing between different shapes and patterns. These capabilities suggest a level of behavioral flexibility that allows octopuses to adapt rapidly to changing environmental conditions. Unlike many marine invertebrates whose responses are largely predetermined, the octopus exhibits a form of situational awareness that enables it to make context-dependent decisions, reinforcing its status as the dominant strategist within its immediate domain. The octopus's dominion is therefore defined not by territorial expanse, but by the intensity of its influence within a confined spatial scale. While apex predators like orcas and great white sharks shape ecosystems across vast oceanic regions, the octopus exerts a comparable level of control within the intricate confines of the reef. Its intelligence allows it to manipulate objects, anticipate threats, and exploit opportunities with unparalleled precision. Every crevice becomes a potential refuge or ambush site, every fragment of debris a possible tool or barrier. Within these boundaries, the octopus effectively dictates the terms of interaction for the surrounding community, transforming the reef into a landscape governed by cognitive mastery. As twilight descends upon the reef, the octopus emerges from its den, its skin rippling through a symphony of colors and textures that mirror the fading light. To the untrained eye, the scene appears tranquil. Yet beneath this calm lies a network of decisions and interactions orchestrated by a creature whose authority is rooted in intellect rather than intimidation. The octopus does not seek to dominate through spectacle. Instead, it achieves control through subtlety, adaptability, and an intimate understanding of its environment. In doing so, It challenges conventional notions of power within the natural world, demonstrating that true ecological influence can arise from the quiet application of intelligence. Ultimately, the octopus stands as a testament to the diverse pathways through which evolution can produce dominance. Its reign is not measured in kilometers of territory or the magnitude of its physical strength, but in the precision with which it shapes the immediate ecosystem. By transforming vulnerability into versatility and solitude into strategic advantage, the octopus exemplifies a form of ecological governance that is as profound as it is understated. Within the labyrinthine complexity of the coral reef, it is not the loudest or the largest that commands authority, but the creature capable of understanding and manipulating the environment at its most intricate level. Through intelligence, adaptability, and environmental engineering, the octopus ensures that, within the boundaries of its chosen domain, the reef operates according to its silent and calculated design. A sudden silence spreads across the ocean's surface, broken only by the frantic breaths of a grey whale calf struggling to keep pace with its mother. Beneath them, the water is alive with movement, shadows converging with calculated precision. The attack has already begun long before the first dorsal fin pierces the surface. Pulses of sound ripple through the depths. Invisible commands exchanged between hunters that operate not as individuals, but as a synchronized intelligence. In this moment, the ocean is no longer a neutral arena. It has been transformed into a strategic landscape, meticulously arranged by the apex predator that rules it. The orca, often referred to as the killer whale, exerts dominion over marine ecosystems not merely through strength, but through an unparalleled fusion of cognition, culture, and cooperation that allows it to orchestrate the behavior of entire food webs. The orca's authority begins with its neurological sophistication. Possessing one of the largest brains relative to body size among non-human animals, the orca exhibits an extraordinary development of the limbic system and paralimbic regions, areas associated with emotional processing, memory, and complex social behavior. This neurological architecture enables not only advanced problem-solving, but also the formation of enduring social bonds and the transmission of knowledge across generations. Unlike many predators whose behaviors are largely instinctual, orca hunting strategies are culturally inherited. Distinct populations, known as ecotypes, specialize in different prey and employ unique techniques that are learned rather than genetically encoded. This cultural differentiation effectively creates separate societies within the same species, each with its own dialect of vocalizations and a repertoire of hunting traditions that can persist for decades or even centuries. One of the most striking demonstrations of this cultural intelligence is the wave-washing technique used by certain Antarctic pods. When a seal seeks refuge on a floating ice floe, the orcas do not rely on brute force to capture it. Instead, they coordinate their movements to generate a synchronized surge of water that destabilizes the ice, sweeping the seal into the sea where it becomes vulnerable. This behavior requires precise timing, spatial awareness, and collective action, revealing a level of environmental manipulation rarely observed in the animal kingdom. Here, the ocean itself becomes an extension of the orca's anatomy, a dynamic tool wielded with deliberate intent. The narrative reversal is profound. The ice floe, perceived as a sanctuary for the seal, is transformed into a trap engineered by predators capable of reshaping their surroundings. Equally compelling is the cooperative predation exhibited during attacks on large baleen whales. In regions such as the Eastern Pacific, pods of transient orcas target grey whale calves during their migrations. The assault is not a chaotic frenzy, but a calculated campaign of endurance. Some individuals position themselves to block the calf's path, while others harass and exhaust the mother, preventing her from providing effective defense. By forcing the pair into deeper waters and prolonging the encounter, the orcas exploit the physiological limitations of their prey, particularly the calf's limited oxygen reserves. This strategy demonstrates an acute understanding of biomechanics and energy expenditure, emphasizing that dominance in the marine environment is often achieved through strategic attrition rather than sheer physical might. The ecological ramifications of orca predation extend far beyond individual hunting events, producing cascading effects that reshape entire ecosystems. In the North Pacific, fluctuations in orca prey preferences have been linked to dramatic shifts in marine community structure. When certain orca populations began targeting sea otters following declines in their primary prey, such as seals and sea lions, the resulting reduction in otter numbers allowed sea urchin populations to expand unchecked. These urchins, in turn, overgrazed kelp forests, leading to the transformation of lush underwater habitats into barren seascapes. This trophic cascade illustrates the orca's role as an ecological architect, capable of indirectly influencing primary producers and the physical structure of marine environments. The predator does not merely occupy the apex of the food web, it regulates the stability and resilience of the ecosystems beneath it. Another dimension of orca control lies in their sophisticated communication systems. Each pod possesses a unique repertoire of calls, effectively functioning as an acoustic dialect that reinforces social cohesion and facilitates coordinated action. These vocalizations are not random, but structured patterns that convey information about identity, location, and behavioral intent. The reliance on sound is particularly significant in the marine environment, where visibility is often limited and acoustic signals can travel vast distances. Through echolocation, orcas construct detailed mental maps of their surroundings, enabling them to detect prey with remarkable precision. This sensory capability allows them to dominate not only the physical space of the ocean, but also its informational landscape, perceiving and responding to stimuli that remain inaccessible to other species. The social structure of orca pods further amplifies their ecological influence. Many populations exhibit matrilineal organization, with offspring remaining with their mothers for life. Post-reproductive females, or matriarchs, play a pivotal role in guiding the group, drawing upon decades of accumulated knowledge to navigate complex environments and locate resources during periods of scarcity. This phenomenon parallels the concept of cultural memory, where the survival of the group depends on the retention and transmission of experiential knowledge. The presence of such leadership underscores the importance of longevity and social learning in maintaining the orca's dominance. The narrative reversal here challenges traditional notions of evolutionary fitness, revealing that individuals beyond their reproductive years can significantly enhance the survival prospects of their kin. Orca predation also induces profound behavioral adaptations in other marine species, creating what ecologists term a landscape of fear. Prey animals alter their movement patterns, habitat use, and foraging behavior in response to the perceived risk of orca encounters. For example, seals may avoid otherwise optimal feeding grounds, while certain whale species modify their migration routes to minimize exposure to predation. These behavioral shifts can have cascading ecological consequences, influencing nutrient distribution and energy flow across vast oceanic regions. In this way, the orca's influence extends beyond direct predation, shaping the very rhythms of marine life through the persistent threat of its presence. Despite their formidable capabilities, orcas themselves are not immune to vulnerability, introducing another layer of complexity to their ecological narrative. Environmental changes, pollution, and reductions in prey availability pose significant challenges to certain populations. Bioaccumulation of persistent organic pollutants, such as polychlorinated biphenyls, can impair immune and reproductive functions, particularly in long-lived apex predators like orcas. This vulnerability represents a poignant reversal. The species that exert such profound control over marine ecosystems is simultaneously susceptible to the cascading effects of human activity. The health of orca populations thus serves as a sentinel indicator of oceanic integrity, reflecting the broader consequences of environmental degradation. The adaptability of orcas is further exemplified by their capacity to exploit novel prey and environments. In some regions, pods have been observed preying on sharks, employing a technique that induces tonic immobility by flipping the shark upside down. This maneuver grants access to the shark's nutrient-rich liver, a highly energy-dense resource. Such behavior not only highlights the orca's innovative hunting strategies, but also underscores its role in regulating populations of other apex predators. The removal of sharks can trigger additional trophic cascades, demonstrating the intricate and often unpredictable nature of ecological interactions mediated by orca predation. Cultural transmission among orcas extends beyond hunting techniques to include play and social rituals, behaviors that reinforce group cohesion and facilitate learning. Juveniles acquire essential skills through observation and participation, gradually integrating into the cooperative framework of the pod. This process mirrors aspects of human cultural evolution, where knowledge is accumulated and refined over successive generations. The persistence of such traditions underscores the significance of social learning as a driver of ecological dominance, enabling orcas to adapt to changing environmental conditions with remarkable flexibility. Ultimately, the orca's mastery of the ocean arises from a synthesis of biological and cultural attributes that transcend the conventional parameters of predation. Its intelligence enables the strategic manipulation of both prey and environment, while its social structure ensures the continuity and refinement of successful behaviors. Through direct predation, behavioral intimidation, and the initiation of trophic cascades, the orca functions as a keystone species whose influence permeates multiple levels of the marine ecosystem. The narrative of the orca is not merely one of power, but of orchestration, a testament to the profound impact that cognition and culture can exert on the natural world. As the grey whale calf's struggles finally cease and the pod disperses, the ocean gradually returns to its deceptive tranquility. Yet the event leaves an indelible imprint on the ecosystem, a reminder that beneath the surface lies an intelligence capable of reshaping the balance of life itself. The orca does not simply inhabit the ocean, it governs it through a dynamic interplay of strategy, memory, and cooperation. In doing so, it transcends the traditional role of an apex predator, emerging instead as an architect of ecological order, a species that does not merely exist within the food web, but actively edits its structure with deliberate and enduring precision. A shadow rockets upward from the abyss with explosive precision, striking the surface in a violent eruption of foam and blood. For a fleeting instant, a seal is airborne, suspended between sky and sea before gravity reclaims it, and the predator disappears just as suddenly as it arrived. The ocean settles, deceptively calm, yet every creature within this coastal arena has already registered the event. Long before the next strike, behavior begins to shift. Resting sites are abandoned, surfacing intervals shorten, and entire colonies subtly reorganize their movements. The great white shark does not merely hunt within this ecosystem, it governs it through the manipulation of uncertainty, transforming fear into an ecological force that reshapes the decisions of countless species. The authority of the great white shark originates in a body refined by evolutionary pressures to exploit the physics of ambush predation. Its counter-shaded coloration, dark dorsally and pale ventrally, renders it nearly invisible against both the dim depths below and the sunlit waters above, a form of camouflage that compresses the prey's reaction window to fractions of a second. This visual deception is complemented by a fusiform body optimized for hydrodynamic efficiency, enabling sudden bursts of speed powered by a heterocircle tail that converts muscular energy into rapid acceleration. Yet physical prowess alone does not explain the shark's dominance. The true foundation of its control lies in an intricate sensory network capable of detecting the faintest traces of biological activity. Olfactory receptors can perceive minute concentrations of blood dispersed through turbulent currents, while the lateral line system registers subtle vibrations that betray the movement of injured or struggling prey. Most remarkably, the ampullae of Lorenzini allow the shark to sense the weak bioelectric fields generated by muscle contractions, granting it the ability to locate concealed prey even in complete darkness or when visual cues are obscured. This convergence of sensory modalities transforms the great white into a predator that often possesses more information about its prey than the prey has about the predator. In ecological terms, such asymmetry of information establishes a powerful landscape of fear, a phenomenon in which the mere risk of predation alters the spatial and temporal behavior of other species. Along coastlines where pinniped colonies thrive, the presence of great whites induces profound changes in seal behavior. Individuals adjust their haul-out patterns, select alternative entry and exit points, and modify foraging routes to minimize exposure to ambush zones. These behavioral adaptations extend beyond the seals themselves, influencing the distribution of fish and invertebrates as the altered movements of their predators cascade through the food web. The shark's influence, therefore, is not confined to the act of predation. It reverberates through the ecosystem, shaping energy flow and community structure in ways that persist even during periods of inactivity. The great white's hunting strategy exemplifies the principle of energetic efficiency. Rather than engaging in prolonged chases, it relies on high-impact ambushes that maximize caloric return while minimizing energy expenditure. Attacks are frequently launched from below, where the shark exploits the contrast between the bright surface and the darker depths to remain undetected until the final moment. This tactic often results in the dramatic breaching behavior observed in regions such as South Africa's former Seal Island, where sharks propel themselves entirely out of the water during predatory strikes. Such events are not merely spectacles of power. They reflect a finely tuned balance between biomechanics and ecological opportunity. By targeting energy-rich prey such as seals, the shark satisfies its substantial metabolic demands with relatively infrequent feeding events, reinforcing its capacity to dominate vast territories without the necessity of constant hunting. A pivotal narrative reversal emerges when considering the great white's role not solely as an agent of fear, but also as a stabilizing force within marine ecosystems. While its presence induces avoidance behaviors among prey species, these same responses can prevent overexploitation of critical habitats. For instance, by deterring seals from lingering in specific foraging grounds, great whites indirectly protect fish populations and maintain the integrity of benthic communities. This regulatory function underscores the shark's status as a keystone species, one whose influence disproportionately shapes the ecological equilibrium of its environment. The predator, often perceived as a symbol of chaos and destruction, is revealed instead as an architect of balance, enforcing boundaries that sustain biodiversity and ecosystem resilience. The sensory and cognitive capabilities of the great white further enhance its ecological authority. Evidence suggests that these sharks exhibit complex spatial memory, enabling them to navigate vast oceanic distances and return to productive hunting grounds with remarkable precision. Seasonal migrations spanning entire ocean basins connect disparate ecosystems, facilitating the transfer of nutrients and linking ecological processes across geographic scales. During these migrations, great whites often congregate in offshore regions where their behavior remains only partially understood, hinting at sophisticated social or reproductive dynamics that continue to intrigue researchers. This capacity for large-scale movement reinforces their role as integrators of marine ecosystems, bridging coastal and pelagic environments through their life history strategies. Despite their formidable adaptations, great white sharks are not invulnerable, introducing another layer of ecological complexity. In certain regions, pods of orcas have been documented preying upon great whites, employing coordinated tactics to induce tonic immobility and access the shark's nutrient-rich liver. This interaction represents a striking narrative reversal. An apex predator rendered prey through the superior social intelligence of another species. The consequences of such predation extend beyond individual mortality. The displacement of great whites from traditional hunting grounds can trigger shifts in mesopredator populations, such as increases in seal or smaller shark numbers, which in turn influence lower trophic levels. These cascading effects highlight the delicate balance of power within marine ecosystems and the interconnectedness of their apex inhabitants. Human activities present an additional and increasingly significant challenge to the great white's dominion. Overfishing, habitat degradation, and the accumulation of environmental pollutants threaten to disrupt the ecological networks that sustain these predators. Furthermore, historical persecution driven by fear and misunderstanding has contributed to population declines in several regions. Yet the narrative surrounding the great white is gradually evolving. Conservation initiatives and legal protections have begun to recognize the species' ecological importance, fostering a shift from vilification to stewardship. This transformation reflects a broader understanding that the preservation of apex predators is essential for maintaining the health and stability of marine ecosystems. The great white shark's dominance ultimately arises from its ability to transform uncertainty into ecological governance. Unlike predators that rely on constant displays of power, the great white exerts influence through the anticipation of its presence. Prey species modify their behavior not only in response to direct encounters, but also in anticipation of potential risk, effectively allowing the shark to regulate vast areas of the ocean with minimal energetic investment. Fear, in this context, becomes a management system, an invisible yet pervasive force that shapes the decisions of organisms across multiple trophic levels. As the waters calm after a predatory strike, the absence of visible danger belies the enduring impact of the event. The altered trajectories of migrating seals, the redistribution of fish populations, and the subtle shifts in habitat use all testify to the shark's far-reaching influence. The great white does not merely inhabit the marine food web, it orchestrates it through a sophisticated interplay of physiology, behavior, and ecological interaction. In doing so, it exemplifies a form of dominance rooted not in relentless aggression, but in the strategic manipulation of risk and perception. Through this lens, the great white shark emerges as both enforcer and guardian of the marine realm. Its presence delineates the boundaries within which life unfolds, ensuring that no single species overwhelms the delicate equilibrium of the ecosystem. The predator's legacy is thus etched not only in the scars of its prey, but also in the enduring stability of the environments it governs. By transforming fear into a mechanism of ecological balance, the great white shark asserts a quiet yet profound authority over the oceans, a testament to the intricate and often paradoxical dynamics that define the natural world. A living cathedral of coral begins to pale, its vibrant surface dissolving into ghostly white as hundreds of venomous arms creep silently across its branches. There is no explosive chase, no dramatic ambush, no sudden eruption of violence. Instead, the destruction unfolds with chilling inevitability. Beneath the tranquil waters of the reef, the crown-of-thorns starfish advances like a slow-moving wildfire, digesting the very foundation of the ecosystem from the outside. Fish scatter, shelter disappears, and the intricate architecture that once sustained a thriving community begins to collapse. This is control not through speed or intelligence, but through relentless consumption, an ecological force capable of rewriting the destiny of entire reef systems. The crown-of-thorns starfish, scientifically known as Acanthaster cf. solaris, represents one of the most formidable agents of ecological transformation within tropical marine environments. Unlike charismatic predators that dominate through fear or physical prowess, this echinoderm exerts influence through its capacity to alter the structural integrity of coral reefs. Its body is covered in long, venomous spines composed of calcium carbonate, which serve as both a deterrent to predators and a delivery mechanism for toxins that can cause intense pain and tissue damage in potential attackers. These defenses grant the starfish an unusual degree of invulnerability, allowing it to forage openly across exposed reef surfaces with minimal risk of predation. At the heart of the crown-of-thorns starfish's ecological power lies its specialized feeding mechanism. Using hundreds of tube feet, the animal adheres tightly to the surface of living coral and everts its stomach through its mouth, externally digesting the coral polyps that form the living tissue of the reef. Enzymatic secretions break down the soft tissues, leaving behind the stark white calcium carbonate skeleton, a visual signature of its passage. This method of feeding is not merely efficient, it is transformative. Each individual starfish can consume large areas of coral over time, but when populations surge into outbreak densities, the cumulative impact becomes catastrophic. Entire reef sections can be stripped of living coral, fundamentally altering habitat complexity and the ecological relationships that depend upon it. The phenomenon of population outbreaks introduces a compelling narrative reversal. In balanced ecosystems, the crown-of-thorns starfish exists as a natural component of reef dynamics, contributing to coral diversity by selectively feeding on dominant species and preventing competitive exclusion. However, under certain environmental conditions, this subtle regulatory role escalates into overwhelming dominance. Increased nutrient runoff from terrestrial sources enhances phytoplankton productivity, providing abundant food for the starfish's planktonic larvae and dramatically increasing their survival rates. Simultaneously, the depletion of natural predators, such as the giant triton snail and certain reef fish, reduces biological checks on starfish populations. The result is an ecological tipping point, where a once manageable species becomes a destructive force capable of reshaping entire marine landscapes. As coral structures decline, the consequences cascade through multiple trophic levels, exemplifying the concept of a trophic cascade. Coral reefs are not merely collections of organisms. They are complex three-dimensional habitats that provide shelter, breeding grounds, and foraging opportunities for countless species. When crown-of-thorns starfish outbreaks reduce live coral cover, the loss of structural complexity diminishes habitat availability for reef-associated fish and invertebrates. Species that rely on branching corals for protection become particularly vulnerable, leading to declines in biodiversity and shifts in community composition. Algal species may subsequently colonize the exposed skeletal surfaces, further inhibiting coral recovery and reinforcing the altered ecological state. In this way, the starfish's feeding behavior initiates a chain reaction that reverberates throughout the ecosystem, transforming vibrant reefs into simplified and less resilient environments. Despite their seemingly destructive nature, crown-of-thorns starfish also embody a paradox of ecological necessity. Their selective predation can enhance coral diversity under non-outbreak conditions by preventing fast-growing coral species from monopolizing space and resources. This regulatory function underscores the delicate balance inherent in natural ecosystems, where even organisms capable of large-scale devastation play essential roles in maintaining biodiversity. The narrative reversal is striking. The same species that can decimate reefs during population explosions is also instrumental in sustaining ecological equilibrium when present at natural densities. This duality challenges simplistic perceptions of the starfish as merely a villain of the reef, revealing instead a complex participant in the dynamic processes that shape marine environments. The reproductive biology of the crown-of-thorns starfish further amplifies its capacity for ecological control. As broadcast spawners, individuals release vast quantities of eggs and sperm into the water column, where external fertilization occurs. The resulting larvae drift with ocean currents, dispersing across extensive geographic areas before settling onto suitable reef habitats. This reproductive strategy facilitates rapid population expansion when environmental conditions are favorable, enabling outbreaks to spread across entire reef systems. Moreover, the starfish's remarkable regenerative abilities allow individuals to recover from physical damage, ensuring persistence even in the face of partial predation or environmental stress. These biological attributes collectively contribute to the species' resilience and capacity for large-scale ecological impact. Human influences have increasingly shaped the dynamics of crown-of-thorns starfish populations, adding another layer of complexity to their ecological narrative. Coastal development and agricultural practices often lead to elevated nutrient levels in adjacent marine environments, inadvertently promoting larval survival and increasing the likelihood of outbreaks. Climate change further exacerbates these challenges by stressing coral communities through rising sea temperatures and ocean acidification, reducing their capacity to recover from predation. In response, targeted management efforts, such as manual removal and the protection of natural predators, have been implemented in various regions to mitigate the starfish's impact. These interventions highlight the intricate interplay between natural ecological processes and anthropogenic pressures, emphasizing the need for holistic conservation strategies. The presence of the crown-of-thorns starfish also reshapes the behavioral landscape of the reef. Fish species that depend on live coral for shelter and feeding must adapt to the changing environment, often relocating to remaining patches of suitable habitat or experiencing increased predation risk in more exposed settings. This redistribution of species can alter competitive interactions and energy flow within the ecosystem, further illustrating the starfish's far-reaching influence. Even organisms not directly consumed by the starfish are affected by the structural and functional changes it induces, reinforcing its role as a powerful ecological engineer. Another dimension of the crown-of-thorns starfish's influence lies in its interactions with microbial communities. The The degradation of coral tissue releases organic matter into the surrounding water, stimulating microbial activity and potentially contributing to localized shifts in nutrient cycling. These microbial processes can affect water quality and influence the recruitment success of juvenile corals, adding yet another layer to the cascading effects initiated by starfish predation. Such complexities underscore the interconnectedness of reef ecosystems and the multifaceted nature of ecological control exerted by this species. While the crown-of-thorns starfish lacks the cognitive sophistication of cephalopods or the physical dominance of large marine predators, its capacity to transform ecosystems demonstrates that power in nature can manifest through entirely different mechanisms. Its influence is cumulative rather than instantaneous, architectural rather than behavioral. By systematically removing the living tissue of corals, the starfish redefines the spatial and ecological framework upon which reef communities depend. The reef becomes organized not around the growth and competition of coral species, but around the absence left in the wake of the starfish's passage. As the feeding aggregation slowly advances, the once vibrant reef transitions into a landscape of stark contrasts. Patches of surviving coral interspersed with expanses of bleached skeletons. Yet even within this devastation lies the potential for renewal. Over time, if environmental conditions stabilize and starfish populations decline, coral larvae can recolonize the affected areas, initiating the gradual process of ecological recovery. This cyclical dynamic reflects the resilience of reef ecosystems and the role of disturbance as a driver of ecological succession. The crown-of-thorns starfish, therefore, embodies both destruction and transformation, serving as a catalyst for change within the marine environment. Ultimately, the crown-of-thorns starfish exemplifies a form of ecological dominance that challenges conventional perceptions of power in the natural world. It does not rely on speed, intelligence, or overt aggression to assert its influence. Instead, its authority emerges from the capacity to reshape the physical and biological architecture of entire ecosystems through sustained collective consumption. The narrative of this remarkable echinoderm reveals that control within the ocean can be exercised not only by apex predators, but also by organisms whose impact is measured in the gradual yet profound transformation of their environment. As the reef settles into an uneasy stillness, the silent advance of the crown-of-thorns starfish continues, a testament to the diverse pathways through which evolution can confer ecological authority. Within the broader tapestry of marine life, this unassuming yet formidable creature stands as a reminder that dominance is not always defined by spectacle. Sometimes it is the quiet, persistent forces, the ones that reshape the very foundations of an ecosystem, that wield the most enduring power. A ripple of sand settles over what appears to be an unremarkable patch of seabed, a lifeless arrangement of rubble and algae that invites the careless step of an unsuspecting fish. In an instant, the illusion shatters. A cavernous mouth opens with explosive speed, creating a vacuum that engulfs the prey before it can even register danger. The seabed closes again, returning to stillness as if nothing had occurred. Yet beneath this deceptive calm lies one of the most formidable enforcers of spatial control in the marine world. The stonefish does not dominate through pursuit or spectacle. It governs through hidden consequence, transforming a seemingly neutral environment into a territory defined by lethal certainty. The stonefish, belonging primarily to the genus Cynancea, represents the pinnacle of ambush specialization among reef-associated fishes. Its authority arises from a fusion of morphological camouflage, biomechanical precision, and one of the most potent venoms found in the vertebrate world. Unlike active predators that advertise their dominance through movement or territorial displays, the stonefish exerts influence by erasing its own presence. Its body is sculpted to mimic the irregular textures of dead coral, encrusted rock, or seabed detritus. Dermal appendages and mottled pigmentation disrupt its outline, while sediment often accumulates on its skin, further enhancing the illusion. This extraordinary camouflage is not merely defensive. It is an ecological strategy that converts invisibility into territorial ownership. Within the few centimeters that define its immediate surroundings, The stonefish establishes a zone of silent authority where any intrusion may result in swift predation or devastating envenomation. Central to this dominance is the stonefish's venom delivery system, a sophisticated defensive adaptation that transforms passive concealment into active deterrence. Along its dorsal surface, the fish bears a series of robust spines connected to venom glands. When pressure is applied, such as when a predator or unsuspecting animal steps upon it, these spines penetrate the skin and inject a complex cocktail of potent toxins. The venom contains proteins capable of disrupting cellular membranes, interfering with neuromuscular transmission and inducing intense pain, cardiovascular instability, and tissue necrosis. From an ecological perspective, this mechanism functions not merely as a means of defense, but as a powerful behavioral modifier. Potential predators and larger animals learn to avoid habitats where stonefish may be present, creating a landscape of deterrence in which the mere possibility of envenomation shapes spatial patterns of movement and habitat use. The narrative reversal inherent in the stonefish's biology lies in its transformation of apparent vulnerability into overwhelming control. At first glance, the animal appears defenseless, slow-moving, sedentary, and physically unremarkable. However, this perceived weakness is revealed as a specialized survival superpower. By relinquishing speed and overt aggression, the stonefish minimizes energetic expenditure while maximizing predatory efficiency. Its ambush feeding strategy relies on rapid buccal expansion, generating a powerful suction force that draws prey into its mouth with remarkable speed. This biomechanical adaptation allows the fish to capture agile organisms such as small fishes and crustaceans without the need for pursuit. In this way, the stonefish exemplifies the principle that ecological dominance can arise from the strategic optimization of energy use rather than from continuous displays of strength. Beyond individual predation events, the presence of stonefish influences the broader ecological dynamics of reef systems. Prey species modify their foraging behavior, avoiding certain substrates or adopting heightened vigilance in areas where camouflage predators may reside. This behavioral adaptation can lead to shifts in grazing patterns, indirectly affecting algal growth and coral health. Such cascading effects highlight the stonefish's role as a subtle yet significant ecological regulator. While its territorial reach may be limited in spatial extent, the behavioral consequences of its presence ripple outward through the ecosystem, demonstrating that control in nature is not solely determined by physical scale, but also by the intensity of localized interactions. The stonefish's integration within the reef community further underscores its ecological significance. Despite its formidable defenses, it participates in a network of interactions that contribute to the overall balance of the ecosystem. Juvenile stonefish, for instance, are vulnerable to predation by larger fishes before their venom apparatus is fully developed, illustrating a temporal dimension to their ecological role. Additionally, certain predators have evolved resistance or behavioral strategies that allow them to exploit stonefish as prey, emphasizing the dynamic and reciprocal nature of ecological relationships. This interconnectedness challenges the perception of the stonefish as an untouchable sovereign, revealing instead a species embedded within a complex web of evolutionary pressures. Reproductive strategies also play a crucial role in sustaining the stonefish's ecological presence. Females release gelatinous egg masses that adhere to the substrate, providing protection during early development. The dispersal of larvae through ocean currents facilitates the colonization of new habitats, ensuring the persistence of populations across broad geographic regions. This life history strategy enhances the resilience of the species, allowing it to maintain its role as a localized enforcer of spatial boundaries within diverse reef environments. Human interactions with the stonefish introduce an additional layer of narrative complexity. Encounters between humans and stonefish often occur inadvertently, typically when individuals step on camouflaged specimens in shallow coastal waters. The resulting envenomations, characterized by excruciating pain and potential systemic effects, have contributed to the fish's reputation as one of the most dangerous marine animals. Yet this perception also underscores the broader ecological principle that the stonefish's dominance is rooted in deterrence rather than aggression. It does not seek confrontation. Instead, it relies on the effectiveness of its defenses to maintain territorial integrity. This distinction is essential for understanding the species within an ecological context, shifting the narrative from one of fear to one of evolutionary adaptation. A deeper ecological twist emerges when considering the stonefish's role as both predator and prey within the reef's trophic network. While its venom provides substantial protection, it does not render the fish invincible. Larger predators capable of circumventing or tolerating its defenses contribute to the regulation of stonefish populations, preventing unchecked dominance. This balance ensures that the species functions as a component of the ecosystem rather than as an overriding force of disruption. The stonefish's influence, therefore, is best understood as a localized manifestation of ecological control, operating within the constraints of broader environmental interactions. The concept of hidden consequence encapsulates the essence of the stonefish's ecological authority. Unlike apex predators that reshape ecosystems through conspicuous predation, the stonefish governs through the anticipation of risk. Its presence transforms seemingly benign substrates into zones of potential danger, compelling other organisms to adjust their behavior accordingly. This phenomenon parallels the landscape of fear observed in terrestrial ecosystems, where the threat of predation influences the distribution and activities of prey species. In the marine environment, the stonefish achieves a similar effect on a microhabitat scale, demonstrating that dominance can be exerted through psychological and behavioral mechanisms as effectively as through physical force. Physiologically, the stonefish embodies a remarkable integration of form and function. Its sedentary lifestyle is supported by metabolic adaptations that allow it to endure extended periods of inactivity while remaining poised for rapid action. The efficiency of its ambush strategy minimizes energy expenditure, enabling the fish to thrive in environments where resources may be sporadically distributed. This metabolic economy reinforces its capacity to maintain territorial control without the need for continuous movement or active defense, highlighting the evolutionary advantages of specialization within complex ecosystems. As dusk settles over the reef, the stonefish remains motionless, an indistinguishable fragment of the seafloor. To the untrained observer, the environment appears tranquil and unoccupied. Yet within this stillness lies a profound assertion of ecological authority. The fish does not patrol its territory or engage in overt displays of dominance. Instead, it allows the effectiveness of its camouflage and venom to define the boundaries of its influence. Every organism that navigates this space must contend with the possibility of hidden danger, a testament to the stonefish's ability to command respect through subtlety rather than spectacle. Ultimately, the stonefish exemplifies a unique paradigm of ecological control, one defined by invisibility, deterrence, and precision. Its dominance is not measured by the breadth of its territory or the frequency of its predatory encounters, but by the transformative effect it has on the behavior of other species within its immediate environment. By converting the seabed into a domain of concealed risk, the stonefish demonstrates that power in the natural world can manifest in forms both understated and absolute. Within the confines of its chosen habitat, it stands as a silent sovereign, shaping the dynamics of the reef through the ever-present possibility of consequence. A narrow crevice in the coral wall pulses with unseen tension as a small reef fish darts toward what appears to be sanctuary. In a fraction of a second, the illusion collapses. From the darkness, a pair of jaws erupts with explosive precision, clamping down with a force that transforms refuge into a trap. As the prey struggles, a second set of jaws surges forward from deep within the predator's throat, seizing the victim and dragging it inexorably into the shadows. The reef returns to stillness, yet its architecture has been irrevocably redefined. The moray eel does not merely inhabit the reef's hidden spaces. It governs them, transforming every crevice, tunnel, and cavern into territory enforced by ambush and anatomical specialization. The ecological authority of the moray eel arises from a remarkable convergence of morphological adaptations and behavioral strategies that allow it to dominate the reef's most confined environments. Unlike many reef predators that rely on speed and open water pursuit, morays have evolved elongated, serpentine bodies supported by powerful axial musculature, enabling them to navigate the intricate labyrinth of coral formations with unparalleled efficiency. This body plan allows access to spatial niches inaccessible to bulkier predators, effectively granting the moray exclusive control over the reef's tightest real estate. Within these confined spaces, the eel establishes a form of choke point dominance, where the physical structure of the environment itself becomes an extension of its predatory strategy. Central to this dominance is one of the most extraordinary feeding mechanisms in the vertebrate world, the presence of pharyngeal jaws. While most fishes rely solely on suction to draw prey into their mouths, moray eels possess a secondary set of jaws located within the throat. These pharyngeal jaws can be projected forward into the oral cavity, grasping captured prey and transporting it deeper into the esophagus. This adaptation compensates for the limited suction capacity imposed by the eel's narrow head and elongated body, ensuring that once prey is seized, escape becomes virtually impossible. The narrative reversal here is profound. What initially appears to be a limitation, the inability to generate strong suction, is revealed as a specialized evolutionary innovation that enhances feeding efficiency within confined spaces. The moray transforms anatomical constraint into a decisive predatory advantage, reinforcing its control over the reef's architectural complexity. The moray eel's influence extends beyond individual predation events to shape the behavioral dynamics of the reef community. Small fishes navigating the coral matrix must constantly assess the risk associated with entering crevices and tunnels. Structures that would otherwise serve as essential refuges from open water predators become zones of heightened danger when occupied by a moray. This persistent uncertainty creates a localized landscape of fear, altering movement patterns, habitat selection, and foraging behavior across multiple species. By transforming shelters into potential death traps, the moray indirectly influences the spatial distribution of prey populations and the broader ecological interactions that define reef ecosystems. In this way, the eel exerts a form of ecological governance that is both subtle and pervasive, rooted in the manipulation of environmental architecture rather than overt displays of dominance. Camouflage further enhances the moray's effectiveness as an ambush predator. Many species exhibit mottled or patterned skin that blends seamlessly with the surrounding coral and rock, rendering them nearly invisible within their chosen habitats. Unlike fishes with scales, morays possess a thick, mucus-covered skin that provides protection against abrasion as they navigate narrow passages. This mucus layer also reduces drag, facilitating efficient movement through complex reef structures. The eel's habit of maintaining an open mouth, often misinterpreted as a sign of aggression, serves a critical respiratory function, allowing water to pass over the gills in the absence of active swimming. This behavior contributes to the animal's menacing appearance while simultaneously supporting its sedentary ambush lifestyle, illustrating how physiological necessity can reinforce ecological effectiveness. The ecological twist of the moray eel's narrative emerges through its unexpected role in cooperative hunting relationships. In certain reef systems, morays have been observed engaging in coordinated hunting with groupers. The grouper, an agile open-water predator, initiates the interaction by signaling the moray through specific body movements. Once engaged, the two predators exploit complementary hunting strategies. The grouper pursues prey in open water, while the moray infiltrates crevices and confined spaces, flushing hidden organisms into the open. This partnership enhances the hunting success of both species and exemplifies a sophisticated form of interspecific cooperation rarely documented among fishes. The solitary ambush predator is thus revealed to be part of a broader symbiotic network, challenging conventional perceptions of its ecological role and highlighting the complexity of interactions within reef ecosystems. Despite their formidable adaptations, moray eels are not invulnerable, introducing another layer of ecological balance. Larger predators, including sharks, groupers, and even certain marine mammals, are capable of preying upon morays, particularly when the eels venture beyond the safety of their crevices. Additionally, morays are susceptible to parasitic infections and environmental disturbances that can influence their distribution and abundance. These vulnerabilities underscore the dynamic nature of reef ecosystems, where dominance is always contextual and subject to the interplay of multiple ecological forces. The moray's authority, while significant within its niche, operates within a framework of checks and balances that maintain overall ecosystem stability. Reproductive strategies further contribute to the persistence of moray populations and their ecological influence. Morays undergo a distinctive larval stage known as the leptocephalus, characterized by a transparent, ribbon-like body that drifts within the pelagic environment. This dispersal phase facilitates genetic exchange across vast geographic regions, enabling moray populations to colonize new reef systems and maintain resilience in the face of localized disturbances. Upon metamorphosis, juvenile eels settle into reef habitats, gradually assuming the ecological role of crevice-dwelling predators. This life history strategy connects distant marine ecosystems, illustrating the moray's contribution to the broader connectivity of oceanic environments. The moray eel's presence also influences the structural dynamics of reef ecosystems through its interactions with prey species. By preying on herbivorous fishes and crustaceans, morays can indirectly affect algal growth and coral health, contributing to complex trophic cascades that shape community composition. While their impact may be more localized than that of larger apex predators, the cumulative effects of their predation can significantly influence the ecological balance within reef habitats. This underscores the importance of recognizing the role of mesopredators in maintaining ecosystem function and resilience. Human perceptions of moray eels often emphasize their fearsome appearance and powerful bite. Yet these animals rarely pose a threat to humans unless provoked. Most incidents occur when divers inadvertently place their hands near occupied crevices or attempt to feed the eels, behaviors that disrupt the natural boundaries established by the animals. Understanding the ecological significance of morays fosters a more nuanced appreciation of their role within reef ecosystems, shifting the narrative from one of menace to one of ecological specialization and balance. As twilight descends upon the reef, the moray eel remains partially concealed within its rocky domain, its head protruding from the shadows as it surveys the surrounding environment. The intricate network of tunnels and cavities that defines the reef has been transformed into a landscape of controlled access points, each governed by the eel's presence. For the myriad organisms that navigate this complex terrain, every opening carries the potential for both refuge and peril. The moray's dominion is thus defined not by expansive territory or overt displays of power, but by its ability to weaponize the very architecture of the reef. Ultimately, the moray eel exemplifies a unique paradigm of ecological control rooted in spatial specialization and anatomical innovation. Its elongated body, pharyngeal jaws, and ambush-oriented behavior enable it to dominate the reef's most confined environments, transforming structural complexity into a strategic advantage. Through the creation of localized landscapes of fear, cooperative hunting relationships, and contributions to trophic dynamics, the moray exerts a profound influence on the ecological fabric of coral reef systems. Within the shadowed corridors of the reef, where visibility fades and escape routes narrow, the moray eel stands as a silent sovereign, governing its domain with a mastery that is both subtle and absolute. A flicker of movement in seemingly empty water is followed by an instantaneous paralysis, as a small fish convulses and falls silent before it even understands what it has touched. There is no pursuing predator, no visible threat, no shadow announcing danger. Instead, the water itself has become lethal. Suspended within this deceptive clarity drifts one of the ocean's most formidable yet understated rulers, the box jellyfish. Its authority does not arise from territorial defense or physical dominance, but from its ability to transform invisible space into a chemically weaponized domain where mere contact determines survival. The box jellyfish, belonging to the class Cubozoa, represents a pinnacle of evolutionary specialization in venom delivery and sensory sophistication among gelatinous marine organisms. Unlike many other jellyfish that drift passively with ocean currents, box jellyfish possess a cube-shaped bell and a level of locomotive control that allows them to actively navigate their environment. Through rhythmic pulsations of the bell, they can swim with surprising speed and directional precision, enabling them to position themselves strategically within coastal waters, estuaries, and reef margins where prey density is highest. This capacity for controlled movement transforms the jellyfish from a passive drifter into an active architect of spatial risk, redefining the ecological dynamics of the water column. Central to the box jellyfish's dominance is its unparalleled venom apparatus. Each tentacle is lined with millions of specialized cells known as nematocysts, microscopic harpoon-like structures that discharge upon the slightest mechanical or chemical stimulus. When triggered, these organelles penetrate the skin of the victim and deliver a potent cocktail of toxins capable of disrupting cellular membranes, interfering with ion channels, and inducing rapid cardiovascular collapse. The speed of nematocyst discharge is among the fastest biological processes known, occurring within microseconds and leaving prey with virtually no opportunity for escape. From an ecological perspective, this mechanism transforms the surrounding water into a field of invisible tripwires where the risk of contact alone is sufficient to alter the behavior of other organisms. A striking narrative reversal emerges when considering the box jellyfish's sensory capabilities. Gelatinous zooplankton are often perceived as simple organisms, drifting aimlessly through the ocean. However, box jellyfish challenge this assumption through the possession of complex visual systems. Each individual carries clusters of eyes known as rhopalia, which include lens-bearing eyes capable of forming images. These structures enable the jellyfish to detect obstacles, orient toward light, and navigate with a level of environmental awareness that is exceptional among invertebrates. This sensory sophistication allows them to maintain their position in productive hunting grounds and avoid hazards such as mangrove roots or shoreline obstacles. What initially appears to be a fragile and primitive organism is thus revealed as a highly adapted predator, capable of integrating sensory information to exert precise control over its immediate environment. The ecological influence of the box jellyfish extends beyond individual predation events, manifesting in the creation of what can be described as a landscape of contact risk. Fish and other marine organisms must constantly interpret the water column for the presence of these nearly transparent predators. In regions where box jellyfish are abundant, prey species may alter their vertical distribution, swimming patterns, and habitat preferences to minimize the likelihood of encountering venomous tentacles. Such behavioral modifications can cascade through the ecosystem, influencing predator-prey interactions and energy flow. The jellyfish's dominance, therefore, is not defined by the frequency of its attacks, but by the pervasive uncertainty it imposes on the surrounding community. The feeding strategy of the box jellyfish exemplifies the efficiency of its design. As prey becomes ensnared within the tentacles, the nematocysts immobilize it almost instantaneously, after which the tentacles contract to transport the captured organism toward the mouth, located at the base of the bell. This process minimizes energy expenditure while maximizing predatory success, aligning with the principles of metabolic efficiency that characterize many successful marine predators. The jellyfish's gelatinous body, composed largely of water, further reduces energetic costs associated with locomotion and maintenance, enabling it to thrive in environments where resources may be intermittently distributed. Despite its formidable capabilities, the box jellyfish is not an invincible sovereign, introducing another layer of ecological complexity. Certain marine species, particularly sea turtles, have evolved resistance to the jellyfish's venom and actively prey upon them. This interaction represents a compelling ecological twist, in which a predator capable of incapacitating a wide range of organisms becomes vulnerable to specialized consumers. The resilience of sea turtles to nematocyst toxins highlights the dynamic balance of marine ecosystems, where evolutionary adaptations continuously shape the relationships between species. The presence of such predators helps regulate jellyfish populations, preventing unchecked dominance and maintaining ecological equilibrium. Reproductive strategies further contribute to the box jellyfish's ecological influence. Like many cnidarians, box jellyfish undergo a complex life cycle that includes both sexual and asexual stages. After fertilization, larvae settle onto the substrate and develop into polyps, which can reproduce asexually to produce multiple medusae. This capacity for rapid population expansion allows box jellyfish to exploit favorable environmental conditions, leading to seasonal increases in abundance that can dramatically alter local ecosystem dynamics. Environmental factors such as water temperature, nutrient availability, and ocean currents play critical roles in shaping these population fluctuations, linking the jellyfish's ecological impact to broader oceanographic processes. Human interactions with box jellyfish underscore the profound consequences of their venomous capabilities. In coastal regions of the Indo-Pacific, encounters with certain species, such as Chironex fleckeri, have resulted in severe envenomations and, in rare cases, fatalities. These incidents have prompted the implementation of protective measures, including stinger-resistant nets and public awareness campaigns. While such interactions highlight the potential danger posed by box jellyfish, they also emphasize the importance of understanding and respecting the ecological roles of these organisms. Rather than being viewed solely as hazards, box jellyfish should be recognized as integral components of marine ecosystems, contributing to the regulation of prey populations and the maintenance of ecological balance. The presence of box jellyfish also influences nutrient cycling within marine environments. Through the consumption of planktonic and nectonic organisms, they facilitate the transfer of energy across trophic levels. Additionally, their gelatinous biomass provides a source of organic matter that can be utilized by a variety of marine organisms following natural mortality events. These processes underscore the multifaceted nature of their ecological contributions, extending beyond predation to encompass broader ecosystem functions. The concept of dominance embodied by the box jellyfish challenges traditional perceptions of power in the natural world. Unlike apex predators that command attention through size, speed, or social complexity, the box jellyfish exerts control through invisibility and chemical potency. Its influence is subtle yet pervasive, reshaping the behavior of organisms that share its habitat and transforming seemingly benign waters into zones of latent danger. This form of ecological governance is particularly unsettling because it operates beyond the limits of visual perception, compelling other species to navigate an environment where the primary threat cannot be easily detected. As twilight descends upon the coastal waters, the box jellyfish continues its silent patrol, its translucent form drifting through the fading light. To the casual observer, the scene appears serene, yet beneath this tranquility lies a sophisticated predator, whose authority is defined by the ever-present possibility of contact. The water column, once perceived as an open and neutral space, becomes a landscape governed by invisible boundaries and chemical deterrents. Ultimately, the box jellyfish exemplifies a unique paradigm of ecological control rooted in the transformation of space itself. By converting clear water into a domain of hidden consequence, it demonstrates that dominance in the marine environment can arise from mechanisms far removed from conventional notions of predation. Its combination of potent venom, sensory sophistication, and efficient life history strategies ensures its enduring influence within coastal ecosystems. In redefining the rules of movement and interaction, the box jellyfish stands as a testament to the diverse and often paradoxical pathways through which evolution shapes authority in the natural world. Through its silent and invisible reign, it reminds us that in the ocean, the most profound power is sometimes wielded not by what is seen, but by what remains almost entirely unseen. A single careless brush against a seemingly gentle fringe of tentacles is all it takes. In an instant, a small fish convulses, its muscles locked by a barrage of microscopic harpoons that fire with explosive precision. The surrounding water remains tranquil, the anemone unmoving, yet an invisible boundary has been violently enforced. Unlike predators that chase or patrol, the sea anemone governs its domain through stillness, transforming a fixed point on the reef into a chemically defended territory where every movement is dictated by the risk of contact. What appears to be a delicate floral ornament is, in reality, a highly specialized predator and ecological architect, capable of exerting profound influence over its immediate environment. Sea anemones belong to the phylum Cnidaria, a lineage that includes corals and jellyfish, and their evolutionary success is rooted in a deceptively simple yet extraordinarily effective biological design. Anchored to the substrate by a muscular pedal disc, the anemone relinquishes mobility in exchange for territorial permanence. This apparent vulnerability is, in fact, a strategic advantage. By remaining fixed in a location with optimal water flow and prey availability, the anemone minimizes energy expenditure while maximizing feeding opportunities. Its cylindrical body culminates in a crown of tentacles surrounding a central mouth, each tentacle armed with thousands of nematocysts, specialized stinging cells capable of delivering venom with remarkable speed and efficiency. These microscopic organelles function as spring-loaded harpoons, triggered by mechanical and chemical stimuli, ensuring that any organism crossing the anemone's perimeter is swiftly immobilized. The concept of a chemical perimeter defines the anemone's ecological authority. Unlike mobile predators that must actively pursue prey, the sea anemone establishes a stationary zone of influence where the threat of envenomation shapes the behavior of surrounding organisms. Small fishes and invertebrates learn to navigate carefully around these tentacles, effectively recognizing the anemone as a territorial boundary within the reef. This localized landscape of risk alters patterns of movement and habitat use, demonstrating that ecological dominance can arise from the strategic manipulation of space rather than from physical expansion. The anemone transforms a single point on the reef into a center of ecological gravity, around which the activities of numerous species are organized. A profound narrative reversal emerges through the anemone's symbiotic relationship with clownfish, a partnership that exemplifies the transformative power of mutualism in ecological systems. At first glance, the anemone appears to be a solitary predator, yet the presence of clownfish converts it into the nucleus of a defended microterritory. Clownfish possess a specialized mucus coating that prevents the discharge of the anemone's nematocysts, allowing them to move freely among the tentacles without harm. This adaptation enables the fish to utilize the anemone as a refuge from predators, while simultaneously providing significant benefits to their host. The clownfish actively defend the anemone from potential predators and competitors, including butterfly fish that might otherwise consume its tentacles. Additionally, their movements enhance water circulation, improving oxygenation and facilitating the removal of waste products. The ecological significance of this partnership extends further through nutrient exchange. Clownfish contribute metabolic waste rich in nitrogen and phosphorus, which can be absorbed by the anemone and its symbiotic zooxanthellae, photosynthetic dinoflagellates residing within the anemone's tissues. These symbionts perform photosynthesis, converting sunlight into energy that supports the host's metabolic needs. This tripartite relationship between anemone, clownfish, and zooxanthellae exemplifies a complex symbiotic network in which each participant enhances the survival and ecological influence of the others. The narrative reversal is striking. A creature perceived as passive and solitary is revealed to be the central hub of a dynamic and cooperative ecological system. The anemone's feeding strategy further underscores its role as a localized predator. When prey becomes ensnared by the tentacles, coordinated muscular contractions transport the immobilized organism toward the mouth, where it is ingested and digested within the gastrovascular cavity. This process not only sustains the anemone, but also contributes to nutrient cycling within the reef ecosystem. Undigested material and metabolic byproducts are released into the surrounding environment, providing resources for detritivores and microorganisms. In this manner, the anemone functions as both a predator and a facilitator of energy flow, reinforcing its status as an ecological keystone within its microhabitat. Despite its formidable defenses, the sea anemone is not immune to environmental challenges, introducing an additional layer of ecological complexity. Changes in water temperature, pollution, and ocean acidification can disrupt the delicate balance of its symbiotic relationships, leading to the expulsion of zooxanthellae in a process analogous to coral bleaching. Such disturbances compromise the anemone's energy supply and can reduce its capacity to maintain its territorial influence. This vulnerability highlights the interconnectedness of reef ecosystems and underscores the importance of environmental stability for the persistence of these intricate biological partnerships. The reproductive strategies of sea anemones further contribute to their ecological resilience and spatial dominance. Many species are capable of both sexual and asexual reproduction, enabling them to colonize and maintain favorable habitats effectively. Asexual reproduction through processes such as longitudinal fission or pedal laceration allows anemones to produce genetically identical clones, forming dense aggregations that expand their collective influence over the reef substrate. Sexual reproduction, on the other hand, promotes genetic diversity and facilitates dispersal through planktonic larval stages. This dual strategy ensures both the persistence and adaptability of anemone populations across varying environmental conditions. The presence of a sea anemone also influences the broader community structure of the reef. By providing shelter for clownfish and other commensal organisms, such as certain species of shrimp and crabs, the anemone enhances local biodiversity and contributes to the complexity of ecological interactions. These associated species often engage in additional mutualistic relationships, such as cleaning behaviors that remove parasites or debris from the anemone's surface. Consequently, the anemone functions as a biological hub, fostering a network of interdependent species that collectively shape the dynamics of the reef ecosystem. From an evolutionary perspective, the sea anemone exemplifies the concept that immobility does not equate to ecological insignificance. Instead, its stationary existence enables the establishment of a stable and defensible territory, where energy and resources can be efficiently managed. The anemone's reliance on chemical defense, symbiotic cooperation, and strategic placement within the reef highlights the diverse pathways through which organisms can achieve ecological dominance. This form of control is subtle yet profound, operating through the manipulation of spatial and biological relationships, rather than through overt displays of power. As dusk settles over the reef, the tentacles of the sea anemone sway gently with the currents, their graceful movements concealing a formidable arsenal of stinging cells. Within this living fortress, clownfish navigate with confidence, their presence transforming the anemone into a vibrant center of activity. Surrounding organisms adjust their movements accordingly, respecting the invisible boundaries that define this micro-territory. The reef, in all its complexity, is subtly reorganized around this fixed point of influence. Ultimately, the sea anemone embodies a unique paradigm of ecological control rooted in stillness and cooperation. Its dominance is not measured by territorial expansion or predatory spectacle, but by the establishment of a chemically enforced perimeter that shapes the behavior of surrounding species. Through its symbiotic partnership with clownfish and its role as a hub of ecological interactions, the anemone transforms a small patch of reef into a strategically significant domain. In doing so, it challenges conventional notions of power in the natural world, demonstrating that authority can arise not from movement or aggression, but from the quiet and enduring capacity to define the rules of engagement within a shared environment. A flash of orange darts aggressively from a forest of venomous tentacles, charging at a fish many times its size with fearless precision. The intruder recoils, not from the diminutive attacker itself, but from the lethal barrier that surrounds it. What appears to be reckless bravery is, in truth, a calculated assertion of territorial authority. Within the swaying arms of a sea anemone, the clownfish transforms vulnerability into dominance, converting a deadly organism into a fortified stronghold. In this confined yet strategically vital space of the reef, the clownfish exerts control not through physical power, but through exclusive access to one of the most secure refuges in the marine environment. The ecological authority of the clownfish arises from a remarkable evolutionary partnership with sea anemones, a relationship that exemplifies the transformative potential of mutualism. At first glance, the clownfish seems an unlikely ruler, small, brightly colored, and lacking the speed or weaponry characteristic of many reef predators. However, its specialized mucus coating provides immunity to the anemone's nematocysts, the microscopic stinging cells capable of paralyzing most other organisms. This biochemical adaptation allows the clownfish to inhabit a space that is effectively inaccessible to competitors and predators alike. The anemone, which would otherwise function solely as a stationary predator, becomes a living fortress, and the clownfish its vigilant guardian. Through this partnership, the clownfish gains not only protection, but also a strategic platform from which it can exert influence over its immediate environment. This relationship fundamentally alters the spatial dynamics of the reef. In ecosystems where shelter is a limiting resource, access to a secure refuge can determine survival and reproductive success. By monopolizing an anemone, the clownfish effectively controls a high-value microhabitat, transforming it into a defended territory. Intruding fishes are aggressively chased away, and even larger predators hesitate to approach, deterred by the risk of contact with the anemone's venomous tentacles. This behavior establishes a localized landscape of deterrence, where the presence of a clownfish-anemone pair reshapes the movement patterns and habitat choices of surrounding species. The clownfish's authority, therefore, is not derived from its size, but from its capacity to leverage a partnership that amplifies its ecological impact. A compelling narrative reversal emerges when considering the hierarchical social structure within clownfish communities. Rather than forming egalitarian groups, clownfish societies are organized around a strict dominance hierarchy centered on a breeding pair. The largest individual within the anemone functions as the reproductive female, while the second largest serves as the breeding male. All remaining members are non-reproductive subordinates arranged in descending order of size. Should the dominant female perish, the breeding male undergoes a remarkable physiological transformation, changing sex to assume her role, while the largest subordinate matures into the new breeding male. This phenomenon of sequential hermaphroditism ensures the continuity of reproduction within the territory and highlights the intricate link between social organization and ecological dominance. What initially appears to be a simple fish is revealed as part of a highly structured society where social stability reinforces territorial control. The benefits of the clownfish-anemone partnership extend beyond protection and territorial defense, encompassing significant ecological and physiological exchanges. The clownfish contributes nutrients to the anemone through metabolic waste, enriching the surrounding environment with nitrogen compounds that enhance the growth of symbiotic zooxanthellae residing within the anemone's tissues. These photosynthetic dinoflagellates provide energy to the anemone, increasing its overall health and tentacle expansion. Additionally, the constant movement of the clownfish among the tentacles improves water circulation, facilitating gas exchange and the removal of debris. The fish also actively defends the anemone from predators such as butterfly fish, ensuring the persistence of their shared habitat. This reciprocal exchange transforms the anemone from a solitary predator into the nucleus of a dynamic ecological network, with the clownfish acting as both beneficiary and steward. The clownfish's influence on the reef ecosystem extends further through its role in shaping community interactions. By defending its host anemone, the clownfish indirectly affects the distribution of other organisms, including commensal species such as anemone shrimp and crabs. These associated species benefit from the protective environment created by the clownfish's vigilance, contributing to increased local biodiversity. Moreover, the presence of a healthy anemone can influence the settlement patterns of larval fishes, further integrating the clownfish into the broader ecological fabric of the reef. In this way, the clownfish functions as a keystone participant within its microhabitat, orchestrating a network of interactions that extend far beyond its modest physical dimensions. From a physiological perspective, the clownfish's success is underpinned by a suite of adaptations that enhance its ability to exploit this specialized niche. Its bright coloration, often perceived as a liability in predator-rich environments, may serve as a form of aposematic signaling, advertising its association with the venomous anemone and deterring potential predators. Additionally, the fish's maneuverability and precise swimming capabilities allow it to navigate the complex structure of the anemone's tentacles with exceptional agility. These traits, combined with its behavioral boldness, enable the clownfish to maintain effective territorial defense despite its small size. The ecological twist of the clownfish narrative also encompasses its vulnerability outside the protective confines of the anemone. When displaced from its host, the clownfish becomes highly susceptible to predation, underscoring the extent to which its dominance is contingent upon the symbiotic partnership. This dependency highlights the intricate balance of mutualistic relationships within marine ecosystems and emphasizes the importance of habitat availability for species persistence. Environmental disturbances that affect anemone populations, such as coral bleaching, pollution, or climate-induced temperature fluctuations, can therefore have cascading effects on clownfish communities, illustrating the interconnectedness of reef ecosystems. Reproductive strategies further reinforce the clownfish's territorial authority. Breeding pairs lay adhesive eggs on substrates adjacent to the anemone, where they are meticulously cared for by the male. This proximity ensures that the developing embryos benefit from the protective influence of the anemone and the vigilance of the adult fish. The successful rearing of offspring within this secure environment enhances the stability of clownfish populations and facilitates the transmission of territorial knowledge across generations. Larval clownfish, upon reaching settlement stage, utilize chemical cues to locate suitable host anemones, perpetuating the cycle of symbiosis and territorial establishment. The clownfish's role in the reef ecosystem exemplifies a broader ecological principle. Dominance is often determined not by physical strength, but by strategic access to critical resources. By monopolizing anemones, clownfish secure a refuge that provides both protection and reproductive opportunity, enabling them to exert disproportionate influence within their microhabitat. This form of ecological leverage demonstrates how mutualistic relationships can reshape competitive dynamics and create localized centers of stability within complex ecosystems. As the reef transitions into the subdued light of evening, the clownfish remains vigilant within its living fortress, darting among the tentacles with unwavering confidence. Surrounding fishes adjust their movements accordingly, respecting the invisible boundaries enforced by the partnership between fish and anemone. The scene encapsulates a subtle yet profound assertion of ecological authority. A small organism wielding significant influence through the strategic exploitation of symbiosis. Ultimately, the clownfish embodies a unique paradigm of control rooted in cooperation and spatial exclusivity. Its dominance is not measured by territorial expanse or predatory prowess, but by its ability to transform a lethal organism into a secure and defensible stronghold. Through this partnership, the clownfish converts vulnerability into advantage, establishing itself as the visible custodian of one of the reef's most coveted refugees. In the intricate tapestry of marine life, it stands as a testament to the power of mutualism, demonstrating that even the smallest inhabitants can exert profound ecological influence when armed with the right alliance. A blur of motion erupts from the darkness of a coral crevice, followed by a sharp concussive shockwave that ripples through the surrounding water. A seemingly invincible snail, armored in a spiral fortress of calcium carbonate, is reduced to fragments in less time than it takes for a human eye to register movement. The predator responsible withdraws instantly, vanishing back into its burrow as if nothing has occurred. This fleeting yet devastating act is not merely an instance of predation, it is a declaration of territorial authority. The mantis shrimp, concealed within its fortified refuge, exerts control over its domain through a combination of biomechanical precision and overwhelming force, transforming its modest size into a symbol of disproportionate power within the reef ecosystem. At the heart of this dominance lies one of the most extraordinary predatory mechanisms in the natural world. The mantis shrimp's raptorial appendages function as highly specialized biological weapons, capable of delivering strikes with astonishing speed and acceleration. These appendages are powered by a latch-mediated spring mechanism in which muscular contractions gradually store elastic energy within saddle-shaped exoskeletal structures. When the latch is released, this stored energy is unleashed in an explosive motion, propelling the appendage forward at velocities comparable to a high-caliber projectile. The resulting impact generates not only immense mechanical force, but also cavitation bubbles, microscopic voids that collapse with sufficient intensity to produce secondary shockwaves and flashes of light known as sonoluminescence. This dual-layered assault ensures that prey is incapacitated even if the initial strike does not make direct contact, illustrating a sophisticated interplay between biomechanics and fluid dynamics. The mantis shrimp's authority over its territory extends beyond its capacity for violence. Its burrow serves as both a strategic stronghold and a focal point for ecological interactions. Constructed within coral rubble, sediment, or rock cavities, the burrow provides protection from predators and a secure location for ambush predation. Control of such a refuge is critical in the competitive environment of the reef, where suitable shelters are limited and fiercely contested. By occupying and defending this high-value microhabitat, The mantis shrimp establishes a localized zone of influence that shapes the behavior of surrounding organisms. Potential competitors and predators learn to avoid these defended spaces, effectively granting the mantis shrimp dominion over a patch of the reef that far exceeds the physical dimensions of its burrow. A remarkable narrative reversal emerges when considering the mantis shrimp's sophisticated sensory capabilities. While its formidable strike suggests a creature defined solely by brute force, the mantis shrimp is equally distinguished by one of the most complex visual systems known in the animal kingdom. Possessing compound eyes mounted on independently mobile stalks, it can perceive a broad spectrum of wavelengths, including ultraviolet and polarized light. This advanced visual apparatus enables the mantis shrimp to detect subtle environmental cues, assess the size and orientation of potential threats, and engage in intricate communication with conspecifics. The ability to perceive polarized light is particularly significant, as it facilitates covert signaling during territorial and reproductive interactions, reducing the likelihood of detection by predators. Thus, the mantis shrimp's dominance is not merely a consequence of its physical weaponry, but also of its capacity for precise environmental interpretation and decision-making. The ecological implications of the mantis shrimp's presence are profound. As both predator and ecosystem engineer, it influences the structure and dynamics of the reef community. By preying on hard-shelled organisms such as mollusks and crustaceans, the mantis shrimp participates in regulating population densities and facilitating the recycling of calcium carbonate within the ecosystem. The excavation and maintenance of its burrow further contribute to habitat complexity, creating microenvironments that may be utilized by other organisms once abandoned. These activities exemplify the concept of a trophic cascade at a localized scale, where the behavior of a single species can reverberate through multiple levels of the ecological network, shaping community composition and resource distribution. Energetically, the mantis shrimp's predatory strategy reflects a finely tuned balance between metabolic investment and ecological payoff. The accumulation of elastic energy within its appendages allows the animal to deliver powerful strikes, while minimizing the continuous energetic expenditure associated with muscular contraction. This mechanism represents an elegant solution to the metabolic constraints faced by small predators, enabling the mantis shrimp to achieve levels of performance that would otherwise be unattainable through muscle power alone. The efficiency of this system underscores the evolutionary advantage of mechanical amplification in biological design, illustrating how natural selection can exploit physical principles to overcome physiological limitations. Territorial interactions among mantis shrimp further highlight the interplay between aggression and communication. While capable of inflicting severe injury, these animals often engage in ritualized displays to resolve conflicts without resorting to lethal combat. Visual signals, body postures, and controlled strikes against the substrate serve as assessments of strength and motivation, allowing individuals to gauge the potential costs of escalation. This behavioral strategy aligns with the principles of game theory in evolutionary biology, where the optimization of conflict resolution minimizes the risk of self-damage while maintaining territorial integrity. Consequently, the mantis shrimp's reputation as an indiscriminate aggressor is tempered by a sophisticated system of behavioral negotiation that enhances survival and reproductive success. The reproductive ecology of the mantis shrimp adds another dimension to its territorial authority. Many species exhibit monogamous pair bonds, with both partners contributing to the defense and maintenance of the burrow as well as the care of developing eggs. This cooperative strategy enhances the stability of the territory and increases the likelihood of offspring survival in the predator-rich environment of the reef. The synchronization of reproductive activities with environmental conditions, such as lunar cycles and seasonal changes, further demonstrates the integration of physiological and ecological processes in the life history of the mantis shrimp. Through these mechanisms, territorial control becomes not only a means of individual survival, but also a foundation for the continuity of the species. Despite its formidable capabilities, the mantis shrimp is not invulnerable, and this vulnerability introduces a final ecological twist. Predators such as larger fishes, octopuses, and even other mantis shrimp pose significant threats, particularly during periods of molting when the exoskeleton is temporarily softened. During these critical intervals, the mantis shrimp retreats deep within its burrow, relying on the very shelter it so aggressively defends. This dependence underscores a central paradox of its existence. The same structure that symbolizes its dominance also represents its greatest necessity. Authority, in this context, is inseparable from vulnerability, revealing the delicate balance that characterizes life within complex ecosystems. The mantis shrimp's influence on the reef extends into the realm of sensory ecology and evolutionary innovation. Its capacity to perceive polarized light and a wide range of wavelengths has inspired scientific research into optical technologies, including advanced imaging systems and communication methods. These insights exemplify the broader significance of studying such organisms, as the adaptations that confer ecological success often hold implications beyond their immediate biological context. The mantis shrimp thus serves as a testament to the intricate connections between evolutionary processes and technological advancement, highlighting the value of biodiversity as a reservoir of functional inspiration. As dusk settles over the reef, the mantis shrimp remains poised within its fortified sanctuary, a silent arbiter of territorial boundaries. The surrounding community adjusts its behavior in response to this hidden yet omnipresent force, illustrating the profound impact that a single species can exert on its environment. Through the integration of biomechanical innovation, sensory sophistication, and ecological engineering, the mantis shrimp exemplifies a form of dominance rooted not in size but in strategic specialization. Ultimately, the mantis shrimp embodies the principle that authority in nature is often achieved through the amplification of specific capabilities rather than sheer physical magnitude. Its ability to transform stored elastic energy into devastating force, coupled with its unparalleled visual system and strategic use of habitat, enables it to command respect within the competitive landscape of the reef. The narrative of the mantis shrimp challenges conventional perceptions of power, revealing that even the smallest inhabitants can wield extraordinary influence when evolution equips them with the tools to exploit their environment effectively. In this intricate tapestry of marine life, the mantis shrimp stands as both architect and enforcer, a guardian of its chosen domain whose presence reshapes the ecological dynamics of the reef with every silent, explosive strike. A shadow accelerates through the reef with lethal intent, jaws poised to close around what appears to be an effortless meal. In the final instant before impact, the intended prey undergoes a startling transformation. Its body swells with astonishing speed, expanding into a rigid spherical form bristling with defensive spines. The predator halts abruptly, its attack sequence shattered by a sudden recalibration of risk and reward. What was moments ago an economical pursuit becomes a costly gamble. This dramatic reversal encapsulates the ecological authority of the pufferfish, a creature that exerts control not through aggression, but by fundamentally altering the behavioral economics of predation. The pufferfish's dominance is rooted in its extraordinary capacity for rapid inflation, a biomechanical adaptation that transforms vulnerability into deterrence. Unlike most fishes, which rely on streamlined bodies to evade predators, the puffer possesses highly elastic skin and a specialized skeletal structure that allows it to ingest large volumes of water, or air when removed from the aquatic environment, into its stomach. This expansion increases the animal's apparent size several-fold, rendering it too large or awkward for many predators to swallow. Simultaneously, dermal spines that normally lie flattened against the body become erect, converting the inflated fish into a formidable, spiky barrier. This transformation disrupts the predator's motor program, forcing an immediate reassessment of the attack and often resulting in abandonment of the pursuit. In ecological terms, the pufferfish effectively imposes a hard veto on predation, reshaping the decision-making processes of the surrounding predator community. Beyond its mechanical defenses, the pufferfish wields one of the most potent biochemical arsenals in the marine environment. Many species harbor tetrodotoxin, a neurotoxin that blocks voltage-gated sodium channels in nerve and muscle cells, leading to rapid paralysis and, in severe cases, death. This toxin is not synthesized directly by the fish, but is accumulated through a symbiotic relationship with toxin-producing bacteria, illustrating a sophisticated example of ecological integration. The presence of tetrodotoxin elevates the cost of predation to catastrophic levels, transforming the puffer from a challenging meal into a potentially lethal mistake. Predators that survive initial encounters learn to associate the distinctive morphology and behavior of puffers with danger, leading to widespread avoidance. Through this process of predator education, the pufferfish exerts influence far beyond individual interactions, shaping the behavioral landscape of the reef. A compelling narrative reversal emerges when considering the pufferfish's seemingly paradoxical lifestyle. Despite its formidable defenses, the puffer is not a swift or agile swimmer. Its locomotion is characterized by the gentle oscillation of pectoral and dorsal fins, a mode of movement that prioritizes maneuverability over speed. At first glance, this sluggishness appears to be a significant vulnerability in a predator-rich environment. However, this perceived weakness is, in fact, a strategic trade-off enabled by its defensive adaptations. Freed from the necessity of rapid escape, the pufferfish can exploit ecological niches that demand precise navigation and specialized feeding strategies. Many species possess powerful beak-like jaws formed by fused teeth, allowing them to crush hard-shelled prey such as mollusks, crustaceans, and echinoderms. This dietary specialization positions the puffer as an influential participant in benthic community dynamics, regulating populations of organisms that might otherwise proliferate unchecked. The ecological impact of the pufferfish extends into the realm of trophic interactions and habitat structuring. By preying on sea urchins and other herbivorous invertebrates, puffers can indirectly influence the balance between algal growth and coral health. In ecosystems where herbivore populations are tightly linked to the persistence of coral reefs, the feeding activities of puffers contribute to the maintenance of ecological equilibrium. This role underscores the concept of a trophic cascade, wherein the behavior of a single species reverberates through multiple levels of the food web. The puffer's authority, therefore, is not confined to its immediate survival, but encompasses a broader capacity to shape the structure and function of its ecosystem. Coloration and behavioral displays further enhance the pufferfish's deterrent capabilities. Many species exhibit bold patterns and contrasting hues that function as aposematic signals, visually advertising their toxicity to potential predators. This form of honest signaling reduces the likelihood of attack by enabling predators to recognize and remember the associated risk. In some cases, non-toxic species mimic the appearance of toxic puffers, benefiting from the established reputation of their venomous counterparts. Such mimicry exemplifies the intricate evolutionary interplay between predators and prey, where the dissemination of information through visual cues influences community-wide behavioral patterns. Reproductive strategies also contribute to the ecological narrative of the pufferfish. Certain species engage in remarkable nesting behaviors, with males constructing elaborate geometric patterns in sandy substrates to attract females. These intricate formations, created through persistent fin movements, not only serve as courtship displays, but also influence local sediment dynamics and microhabitat structure. The investment in such energetically demanding behaviors highlights the balance between survival and reproductive success, demonstrating how defensive adaptations can free organisms to allocate resources toward complex life history strategies. Despite its formidable defenses, the pufferfish is not entirely invulnerable, and this introduces another layer of ecological complexity. Specialized predators, such as certain sharks and large teleost fishes, have evolved strategies to circumvent the puffer's defenses, including attacking from angles that prevent inflation or targeting less toxic tissues. Additionally, the process of inflation itself carries physiological costs, imposing metabolic strain and increasing vulnerability during the recovery period. These limitations emphasize the dynamic nature of evolutionary arms races, where adaptations are continually refined in response to shifting ecological pressures. The puffer's dominance, therefore, is not absolute, but represents a finely balanced equilibrium within the broader context of predator-prey interactions. From a sensory and neurological perspective, the pufferfish demonstrates a capacity for environmental awareness that complements its defensive strategies. While not possessing the extraordinary visual complexity of certain crustaceans, puffers exhibit well-developed sensory systems that enable them to detect subtle changes in their surroundings. This awareness facilitates the timely initiation of inflation and enhances their ability to navigate complex reef environments. The integration of sensory perception with mechanical and chemical defenses exemplifies the multifaceted nature of survival strategies in marine organisms. The influence of the pufferfish extends beyond ecological interactions to encompass cultural and scientific significance. The presence of tetrodotoxin has made certain puffer species both a delicacy and a subject of intense study, highlighting the intersection between human societies and marine ecosystems. Research into the toxin's mechanism of action has contributed to advancements in neuroscience and pharmacology, illustrating how the adaptations of a single species can yield insights with far-reaching implications. This connection underscores the broader importance of biodiversity as a source of knowledge and innovation. As twilight descends upon the reef, the pufferfish resumes its unhurried patrol of the seafloor, its presence subtly shaping the behavior of the surrounding community. Predators adjust their hunting strategies, steering clear of the unmistakable silhouette that signifies potential danger. In this quiet assertion of authority, the pufferfish exemplifies a form of control rooted not in confrontation, but in deterrence. By transforming itself into an unprofitable and hazardous target, it redefines the parameters of predation, influencing the decisions of other species and contributing to the stability of the ecosystem. Ultimately, the pufferfish embodies a profound ecological principle. True power in nature often lies in the ability to alter the behavior of others rather than to overpower them directly. Through the integration of biomechanical innovation, biochemical defense, and ecological influence, the puffer establishes itself as a silent architect of predator behavior. Its capacity to impose a hard veto on predation demonstrates that dominance can be achieved through strategic specialization, reshaping the dynamics of the reef with understated yet enduring authority. In the intricate tapestry of marine life, the pufferfish stands as a testament to the elegance of evolutionary solutions, revealing that even the most unassuming creatures can wield extraordinary influence over their environment. A pair of antennae quiver at the entrance of a narrow rock crevice as a shadow glides across the seabed. In an instant, the silence fractures, an armored form surges forward, claws raised like siege weapons, forcing the intruder into abrupt retreat. This is not merely a defensive reaction, but a calculated assertion of territorial authority. On the seafloor, where escape routes are scarce and confrontations unfold at intimate range, the lobster reigns as a master of close-quarters control. Its dominance is not defined by speed or stealth, but by the capacity to hold ground, transforming shelters into fortified strongholds and physical presence into ecological power. The lobster's authority begins with its formidable exoskeleton, a biomechanical shield composed of chitin reinforced with calcium carbonate. This rigid armor provides essential protection against predators, while also serving as a structural framework for the powerful musculature that drives its claws. Unlike many marine organisms that rely on camouflage or rapid escape, lobsters are built for endurance and confrontation. Their bodies are designed to withstand mechanical stress, enabling them to engage in prolonged territorial disputes without sustaining debilitating injury. This defensive architecture is periodically renewed through the process of molting, during which the lobster sheds its old exoskeleton to allow for growth. Although this phase introduces temporary vulnerability, it also represents a strategic investment in future dominance, as each successive molt enhances size, strength, and competitive capability. The apparent weakness of molting thus becomes a narrative reversal, revealing a cyclical pathway through which vulnerability is transformed into long-term authority. Central to the lobster's ecological influence are its asymmetrical claws, each specialized for distinct functional roles. The larger crusher claw is adapted for generating immense force, capable of breaking the shells of mollusks and crustaceans, while the more slender cutter or pincer claw excels in precision handling and tearing of softer prey. This division of labor allows lobsters to exploit a wide range of dietary resources, positioning them as versatile predators within benthic ecosystems. By regulating populations of invertebrates such as sea urchins, bivalves, and smaller crustaceans, lobsters contribute to the maintenance of ecological balance on the seafloor. Their predatory activities can initiate localized trophic cascades, influencing the distribution and abundance of species across multiple levels of the food web. In this way, the lobster's physical dominance translates into broader ecological significance, shaping community dynamics far beyond the confines of its immediate territory. Territoriality is a defining feature of lobster behavior, rooted in the scarcity of suitable shelters within the benthic landscape. Crevices, rocky overhangs, and submerged cavities provide essential protection from predators such as fish, octopuses, and marine mammals. Control of these refuges determines not only individual survival, but also access to feeding grounds and mating opportunities. Lobsters engage in ritualized confrontations to establish and maintain dominance hierarchies, using tactile signals and claw displays to assess the strength and motivation of rivals. These interactions often resolve without physical combat, reflecting an energy-efficient strategy consistent with the principles of evolutionary game theory. However, when escalation occurs, the lobster's crushing claws serve as decisive instruments, reinforcing its reputation as an armored negotiator within the competitive politics of the seafloor. A compelling narrative reversal emerges when examining the lobster's sensory world. While its imposing armor and weaponry suggest a creature governed solely by brute force, lobsters possess highly sophisticated chemosensory and mechanosensory systems that enable them to interpret their environment with remarkable precision. Their elongated antennae function as sensitive detectors of waterborne chemical cues, allowing them to locate food, identify conspecifics, and assess the presence of predators. Additionally, specialized sensory hairs distributed across the body detect subtle vibrations and changes in water flow, providing early warning of approaching threats. This integration of sensory acuity with physical strength transforms the lobster from a simple benthic brute into a perceptive strategist capable of making informed decisions in a complex and dynamic environment. The social dynamics of lobster populations further underscore their role as enforcers of seafloor hierarchies. Dominant individuals typically occupy the most secure shelters, while subordinate lobsters are relegated to less favorable habitats, increasing their exposure to predation. This spatial stratification influences patterns of resource distribution and reproductive success, reinforcing the stability of the dominance hierarchy. Chemical communication plays a pivotal role in these interactions, with urine-borne pheromones conveying information about individual identity, reproductive status, and social rank. Such signaling allows lobsters to negotiate access to resources while minimizing the risks associated with direct physical confrontation. The seafloor thus becomes a stage for complex social negotiations, where authority is maintained through a combination of strength, perception, and communication. The lobster's ecological influence extends beyond predation and territorial defense to encompass its role as an ecosystem engineer. Through the excavation and maintenance of shelters, lobsters modify the physical structure of the benthic environment, creating microhabitats that can be utilized by other organisms. Abandoned burrows and crevices provide refuge for a variety of species, enhancing local biodiversity and contributing to habitat complexity. Furthermore, the lobster's foraging activities facilitate the redistribution of organic matter and sediments, influencing nutrient cycling within the ecosystem. These processes highlight the lobster's capacity to shape its environment in ways that extend far beyond its immediate survival needs. Despite its formidable defenses, the lobster is not immune to predation, introducing another layer of ecological complexity. Octopuses, in particular, have evolved specialized strategies to overcome the lobster's armor and claws, using their dexterous arms and problem-solving abilities to extract lobsters from their shelters. This predator-prey interaction exemplifies the dynamic evolutionary arms race that characterizes marine ecosystems, where adaptations in one species drive counter-adaptations in another. Additionally, the lobster's vulnerability during molting underscores the delicate balance between growth and survival, emphasizing that even the most dominant organisms must navigate periods of heightened risk. From a physiological perspective, the lobster's success is underpinned by an efficient metabolic strategy that supports its benthic lifestyle. As an ectothermic organism, the lobster's metabolic rate is closely tied to environmental temperature, allowing it to conserve energy in cooler waters and allocate resources toward growth and reproduction. This metabolic flexibility contributes to the species' longevity, with some lobsters capable of surviving for several decades. Their extended lifespan enables the accumulation of ecological experience, further reinforcing their ability to maintain territorial dominance and navigate the complexities of their environment. Reproductive strategies also play a crucial role in sustaining the lobster's ecological authority. Mating typically occurs shortly after the female molts, when her softened exoskeleton facilitates the transfer of sperm. The female subsequently carries fertilized eggs beneath her abdomen for an extended period, ensuring their protection and development. This investment in parental care enhances offspring survival and contributes to the persistence of lobster populations within competitive benthic habitats. The synchronization of reproductive cycles with environmental conditions reflects a finely tuned integration of physiological and ecological processes. As twilight descends upon the seafloor, the lobster remains stationed at the threshold of its chosen shelter, antennae probing the surrounding waters for signs of movement. Nearby organisms adjust their behavior in response to this silent sentinel, acknowledging the invisible boundaries it enforces. The seafloor, often perceived as a tranquil landscape, reveals itself to be a domain of intricate social and ecological interactions, where authority is negotiated through strength, perception, and persistence. Ultimately, the lobster embodies a paradigm of ecological control rooted in the capacity to secure and defend critical resources. Its armored exoskeleton, specialized claws, and sophisticated sensory systems enable it to dominate the close-range politics of the benthic environment. Through predation, habitat modification, and the establishment of social hierarchies, the lobster exerts a profound influence on the structure and function of seafloor ecosystems. The narrative of this remarkable crustacean challenges conventional notions of power, demonstrating that true dominance in nature often arises not from speed or aggression alone, but from the steadfast ability to hold ground and shape the environment to one's advantage. In the silent negotiations of the ocean floor, the lobster stands as an enduring symbol of resilience and authority, a guardian of territory whose presence reverberates throughout the intricate tapestry of marine life. A fragment of drifting life vanishes in a fraction of a heartbeat, swallowed by a predator that never appeared to move. Suspended vertically among the swaying blades of seagrass, the seahorse remains almost indistinguishable from its surroundings. Yet within its immediate reach, an invisible boundary exists. A silent jurisdiction where every passing organism risks sudden disappearance. This moment captures a profound biological paradox. An animal seemingly fragile and ornamental exerts decisive control over its environment, not through speed or force, but through stillness, precision, and the manipulation of perception. In the dynamic currents of coastal ecosystems, the seahorse governs a realm defined not by territory in the traditional sense, but by the strategic interception of life as it drifts unknowingly into its domain. The authority of the seahorse begins with its extraordinary morphological specialization, a body plan unlike that of any other fish. Its upright posture, prehensile tail, and elongated snout are not aesthetic curiosities, but functional adaptations that enable it to exploit a highly specific ecological niche. Anchoring itself securely to seagrass blades, coral branches, or sponges using its muscular tail, the seahorse stabilizes its position within habitats characterized by constant water movement. This anchorage allows it to maintain a fixed feeding station while minimizing energy expenditure, a crucial advantage in environments where metabolic efficiency can determine survival. The rigid, armor-like plates that encase its body provide protection against predators, compensating for its limited swimming capabilities and reinforcing its reliance on camouflage and environmental integration. Central to the seahorse's ecological dominance is its remarkable feeding mechanism, a form of rapid suction predation known as pivot feeding. Although the seahorse appears motionless, its head is capable of executing an extraordinarily swift rotational movement, powered by elastic energy stored in specialized tendons and skeletal structures. When a small crustacean or planktonic organism drifts within range, this mechanism propels the snout forward with explosive acceleration, generating a powerful suction force that draws the prey into the mouth almost instantaneously. This feeding strategy allows the seahorse to capture agile prey without the need for pursuit, effectively transforming the surrounding water column into a conveyor belt of potential nourishment. The apparent passivity of the seahorse thus conceals a highly refined predatory system that converts environmental movement into feeding opportunity. A compelling narrative reversal emerges when considering the seahorse's reliance on camouflage and immobility. In many ecological contexts, stillness is associated with vulnerability, leaving organisms exposed to predation and competition. However, the seahorse transforms this perceived weakness into a specialized survival advantage. Through chromatophores embedded in its skin, it can subtly adjust its coloration to match the hues and textures of its surroundings, rendering it nearly invisible to both predators and prey. Some species even develop filamentous skin appendages that mimic the appearance of algae or hydroids, enhancing their disguise. This mastery of visual deception allows the seahorse to operate as an ambush predator, while simultaneously reducing the likelihood of detection, illustrating how evolutionary innovation can redefine the relationship between vulnerability and power. The ecological influence of the seahorse extends beyond individual predatory interactions to encompass its role within the broader dynamics of seagrass and coral reef ecosystems. By selectively preying on small crustaceans, such as copepods and amphipods, seahorses contribute to the regulation of microfaunal populations, thereby influencing nutrient cycling and energy transfer within these habitats. Their feeding activities can affect the composition of planktonic communities, with cascading effects on the ecological balance of coastal systems. Furthermore, the presence of seahorses serves as an indicator of habitat health, as these animals are highly sensitive to environmental disturbances such as pollution, habitat degradation, and climate-induced changes. In this way, the seahorse functions not only as a predator, but also as a sentinel species, reflecting the integrity of the ecosystems it inhabits. Another layer of complexity is revealed in the seahorse's reproductive strategy, which represents one of the most remarkable examples of role reversal in the animal kingdom. Unlike most vertebrates, it is the male seahorse that assumes responsibility for gestation. During mating, the female transfers her eggs into a specialized brood pouch located on the male's abdomen, where they are fertilized and subsequently nurtured. Within this pouch, the developing embryos receive oxygen, nutrients, and osmotic regulation, creating a controlled environment analogous to a mammalian placenta. This unique adaptation enhances offspring survival and allows the female to allocate energy toward the production of additional eggs, thereby increasing reproductive efficiency. The reversal of traditional reproductive roles underscores the seahorse's capacity to challenge conventional biological expectations, reinforcing its status as a symbol of evolutionary ingenuity. Despite its subtle authority, the seahorse is not immune to the pressures of predation and environmental change. Its limited swimming ability makes it susceptible to predators such as larger fishes, crabs, and seabirds, particularly when displaced from its anchoring substrate. Additionally, the specialized habitats upon which seahorses depend are among the most threatened marine environments. Seagrass meadows and coral reefs are experiencing significant declines due to coastal development, pollution, and climate change, placing seahorse populations at considerable risk. This vulnerability introduces a poignant ecological twist. An organism that exerts precise control over its immediate surroundings is simultaneously dependent on the stability of fragile ecosystems. The seahorse's survival thus becomes intertwined with the broader health of the marine environment, highlighting the interconnectedness of ecological systems. From a sensory perspective, the seahorse possesses independently mobile eyes capable of scanning different regions of the environment simultaneously. This adaptation enhances its ability to detect both prey and potential threats, while maintaining its characteristic stillness. The integration of visual acuity with camouflage and suction feeding exemplifies a sophisticated sensory motor system optimized for ambush predation. Additionally, the seahorse's lateral line system enables it to perceive subtle water movements, further refining its capacity to anticipate the arrival of drifting prey. These sensory adaptations transform the seahorse into a highly effective predator within the microcosm of the seagrass meadow, despite its outward appearance of fragility. The seahorse also participates in intricate ecological relationships with other species. Its anchoring behavior often brings it into close association with sessile organisms such as sponges and corals, contributing to the structural complexity of these habitats. In some cases, seahorses form monogamous pair bonds and maintain small, overlapping home ranges, engaging in daily greeting rituals that reinforce social cohesion. These behaviors enhance reproductive success and territorial stability, further emphasizing the seahorse's role as a localized steward of its environment. The cumulative effect of these interactions underscores the significance of the seahorse as both predator and participant in a network of ecological relationships. Energetically, the seahorse's strategy represents an elegant solution to the metabolic constraints of its environment. By relying on ambush predation and anchorage rather than sustained swimming, it minimizes energy expenditure while maximizing feeding efficiency. This approach allows the seahorse to thrive in habitats where food resources are dispersed and environmental conditions are variable. The integration of morphological, physiological, and behavioral adaptations illustrates the principle that evolutionary success often arises from the optimization of energy budgets in response to ecological challenges. As currents continue to sweep through the seagrass meadow, the seahorse remains poised within its chosen station, an almost imperceptible presence exerting quiet influence over the passage of life. Each drifting organism that enters its reach becomes part of a subtle yet decisive ecological interaction, reinforcing the seahorse's role as a ruler of its miniature domain. The surrounding community, though largely unaware of its presence, is shaped by the cumulative impact of these countless predatory events. Ultimately, the seahorse embodies a distinctive paradigm of ecological control, one defined not by confrontation, but by the mastery of patience, camouflage, and precision. Its ability to transform stillness into dominance challenges conventional notions of power in the natural world, revealing that authority can emerge from the strategic exploitation of environmental dynamics rather than from physical aggression. Through its unique adaptations and intricate ecological relationships, the seahorse stands as a testament to the diversity of evolutionary solutions that govern life beneath the waves. In the delicate choreography of coastal ecosystems, it serves as both participant and orchestrator, a silent sovereign whose influence is measured not in dramatic displays of force, but in the subtle, continuous shaping of the living tapestry that surrounds it. A colossal silhouette materializes from the blue, its immense mouth opening like a living gateway as clouds of plankton swirl helplessly into its path. Tiny fish scatter, currents shift, and the very geometry of the feeding ground seems to reorganize around this slow-moving titan. There is no chase, no violent strike, no dramatic display of predatory aggression. Yet, within moments, an entire bloom of microscopic life is transformed into sustenance. This is the quiet dominion of the whale shark, a creature that commands its environment not through fear, but through sheer scale and unparalleled efficiency. In the vast expanse of the ocean, where competition for resources is relentless, the whale shark exerts control by becoming the largest and most effective biological engine within the feeding arena. The authority of the whale shark begins with its extraordinary size, making it the largest fish on Earth and a dominant physical presence within pelagic ecosystems. This immense body is not merely an evolutionary curiosity, but a finely tuned adaptation that enables the processing of enormous volumes of water. As the whale shark moves steadily through plankton-rich waters, it employs a filtration system composed of specialized gill rakers that trap tiny organisms, including copepods, krill, fish eggs, and larval stages of numerous marine species. Each forward glide converts diffuse biological productivity into concentrated nutritional gain, effectively allowing the whale shark to monopolize dense feeding events. In ecological terms, this capacity transforms the animal into a mobile center of resource extraction, reorganizing the behavior of surrounding species that must adjust their own foraging strategies in response to its presence. A compelling narrative reversal emerges when considering the paradox of the whale shark's dominance. Despite its immense size and ecological influence, it poses no direct threat to most marine animals and is entirely harmless to humans. Unlike apex predators that exert control through fear and lethal force, the whale shark governs through benign efficiency. This apparent gentleness conceals a form of ecological power rooted in energy processing rather than predation. By consuming vast quantities of plankton and fish eggs, the whale shark participates in regulating population dynamics at the very base of the marine food web. Its feeding behavior can influence the distribution of nutrients and the availability of resources for other filter feeders, illustrating how dominance in nature can arise from the capacity to shape ecosystems indirectly rather than through direct confrontation. The mechanics of the whale shark's filtration system reveal an elegant solution to the challenges of feeding on microscopic prey. Water enters the cavernous mouth and passes over a complex array of filtering pads before exiting through the gill slits, leaving suspended organisms trapped within the oral cavity. Unlike many filter feeders that rely solely on passive filtration, the whale shark can employ both ram filtration, swimming forward with its mouth open, and suction feeding, actively drawing water and prey into its mouth. This dual strategy enhances feeding efficiency across a range of environmental conditions, allowing the whale shark to exploit ephemeral plankton blooms and seasonal spawning events with remarkable adaptability. The integration of these mechanisms underscores the evolutionary sophistication of a species that has optimized energy acquisition on a monumental scale. The ecological influence of the whale shark extends beyond its immediate feeding activities, contributing to broader oceanographic processes. By consuming large quantities of plankton and subsequently releasing nutrient-rich waste, whale sharks facilitate the vertical and horizontal redistribution of essential elements such as nitrogen and phosphorus. This nutrient cycling enhances primary productivity in surrounding waters, supporting the growth of phytoplankton and sustaining the intricate web of marine life. In this capacity, the whale shark functions as a biological vector within the ocean's nutrient economy, linking surface feeding grounds with deeper ecosystems and reinforcing the interconnectedness of pelagic environments. Another layer of complexity is revealed through the whale shark's migratory behavior. These gentle giants undertake extensive seasonal movements, often traveling vast distances between feeding and breeding grounds. Such migrations are closely synchronized with oceanographic phenomena, including plankton blooms, temperature gradients, and spawning aggregations of other marine species. This capacity to track dynamic resource distributions reflects a sophisticated integration of sensory perception and environmental awareness. Satellite tagging studies have demonstrated that whale sharks navigate through a mosaic of ecological cues, effectively mapping the shifting productivity of the ocean. Through these movements, they serve as ecological connectors, linking disparate marine regions and facilitating the exchange of energy and nutrients across vast spatial scales. Despite their imposing size, whale sharks exhibit a surprising degree of vulnerability, introducing a poignant ecological twist to their narrative. Their slow growth, late sexual maturity, and low reproductive output render populations particularly susceptible to anthropogenic pressures such as overfishing, vessel strikes, and habitat degradation. What appears to be an invulnerable giant is, in reality, delicately balanced within the constraints of its life history strategy. This paradox highlights a fundamental principle of evolutionary ecology. Large body size, while conferring advantages in resource acquisition and predator avoidance, often entails significant reproductive and metabolic trade-offs. The whale shark's dominance within feeding events is thus tempered by a broader vulnerability that underscores the fragility of even the most imposing species. The sensory and behavioral adaptations of the whale shark further enhance its ecological role. Although lacking the acute predatory senses associated with many large fishes, whale sharks possess well-developed olfactory and mechanosensory systems that enable them to detect subtle changes in water chemistry and movement. These capabilities allow them to locate areas of high biological productivity with remarkable precision. Additionally, their distinctive coloration, characterized by a pattern of pale spots and stripes, may serve functions related to camouflage, species recognition, or hydrodynamic efficiency. Recent research suggests that these patterns are unique to each individual, providing a natural means of identification and offering insights into population structure and movement patterns. The presence of a whale shark within a feeding aggregation often attracts a diverse assemblage of associated species, including remoras, pilotfish, and other opportunistic organisms. These commensal relationships exemplify the formation of temporary symbiotic networks centered around the whale shark's massive body. Remoras attach themselves to the shark's skin, benefiting from transportation and access to food particles, while pilotfish exploit the disturbed water column to capture dislodged prey. This aggregation of species transforms the whale shark into a mobile ecological hub, illustrating how the influence of a single organism can radiate outward to shape community structure and interspecific interactions. Energetically, the whale shark represents an extraordinary example of metabolic optimization. Sustaining such a large body requires a delicate balance between energy intake and expenditure. The efficiency of filter feeding allows the whale shark to meet these demands by capitalizing on dense concentrations of prey, minimizing the need for energetically costly pursuits. Furthermore, the species exhibits behavioral thermoregulation, often occupying warm surface waters that facilitate metabolic processes while occasionally diving to greater depths. These vertical movements may also play a role in nutrient transport, further emphasizing the whale shark's contribution to oceanic ecosystem functioning. As the whale shark glides through a shimmering bloom of plankton, the surrounding environment subtly reorganizes in response to its passage. Smaller filter feeders adjust their positions, opportunistic species gather in its wake, and the distribution of microscopic life is reshaped by the immense volume of water processed through its filtration system. This quiet yet profound influence exemplifies a form of ecological control that transcends traditional notions of predation. The whale shark does not dominate through fear or aggression. Instead, it governs through the capacity to harness and redistribute the ocean's most fundamental resources. Ultimately, the whale shark embodies a paradigm of dominance defined by scale, efficiency, and ecological integration. Its immense size and sophisticated filtration mechanisms enable it to transform ephemeral bursts of biological productivity into sustained energy, reorganizing feeding dynamics across vast regions of the ocean. The narrative of the whale shark challenges conventional perceptions of power in the natural world, revealing that authority can emerge from the ability to process resources on a monumental scale rather than from the capacity to inflict harm. Through its movements, feeding strategies, and ecological interactions, the whale shark stands as a testament to the diverse pathways through which evolution shapes influence and control within marine ecosystems. In the boundless expanse of the ocean, where survival often hinges on the relentless pursuit of prey, the whale shark offers a striking counterpoint. A gentle giant whose presence commands attention and reorganizes the living tapestry of the sea. Its passage through plankton-rich waters transforms abundance into sustenance and fleeting ecological events into moments of structured order. In this silent orchestration of energy and life, the whale shark emerges not as a predator in the traditional sense, but as a sovereign of scale, a living engine whose quiet authority leaves an indelible imprint on the dynamics of the marine world. A tiny fish drifts innocently toward what appears to be a harmless fragment of sponge, its attention captured by the gentle flicker of what resembles an easy meal. In less than the blink of an eye, the illusion collapses. The surrounding water implodes as a cavernous mouth expands with explosive force, and the unsuspecting prey vanishes without a trace. The predator responsible remains motionless once more, seamlessly blending back into the reef as if the violent event had never occurred. This is the realm of the frogfish, a master of deception whose authority is rooted not in pursuit or territorial aggression, but in the manipulation of perception itself. Within a few inches of reef, the frogfish transforms ordinary space into a lethal stage where reality is carefully rewritten to favor its survival. The ecological dominance of the frogfish begins with its extraordinary capacity for camouflage, a specialization that allows it to integrate visually and texturally into its surroundings with astonishing precision. Unlike many ambush predators that rely primarily on coloration, frogfish possess a dynamic dermal architecture capable of mimicking sponges, algae, corals, or even encrusted reef debris. Through chromatophores embedded in their skin, they can subtly adjust their coloration to match the ambient environment, while filamentous appendages known as dermal cirri enhance the illusion by replicating the irregular textures of benthic organisms. This adaptive resemblance is not merely defensive. It functions as an active predatory strategy, transforming the frogfish into a convincing component of the reef landscape. In doing so, the frogfish establishes a micro-habitat of false security, where prey organisms perceive safety rather than threat. Central to the frogfish's predatory success is its specialized feeding apparatus, which exemplifies one of the most rapid and efficient mechanisms of suction predation in the animal kingdom. The frogfish employs an extensible mouth supported by a highly kinetic cranial skeleton, enabling it to expand its oral cavity with extraordinary speed. This rapid expansion generates a powerful negative pressure, drawing both water and prey into the mouth in a fraction of a second. The strike is so swift that it outpaces the neural response times of most prey species, effectively bypassing their escape reflexes. This biomechanical feat is facilitated by elastic energy storage within the musculoskeletal system, allowing the frogfish to achieve explosive performance while conserving metabolic resources during prolonged periods of stillness. The predator's apparent inactivity thus conceals a sophisticated system optimized for instantaneous action. A defining feature of the frogfish's strategy is its use of a modified dorsal spine known as the elysium, which functions as a fishing rod-like structure terminating in a fleshy lure called the esker. This appendage is maneuvered with remarkable dexterity, mimicking the movements of small worms, crustaceans, or other prey items. By exploiting the sensory biases of potential victims, the frogfish effectively manipulates the behavioral expectations of surrounding organisms. This phenomenon represents a striking example of aggressive mimicry, wherein the predator deceives its prey by imitating a desirable resource. The reef environment, typically a complex mosaic of visual and chemical cues, is thus transformed into an extension of the frogfish's predatory apparatus. The animal does not merely occupy space, it redefines the informational landscape of its habitat, converting perception into a tool of ecological control. The narrative reversal inherent in the frogfish's existence lies in the transformation of perceived weakness into overwhelming advantage. At first glance, the frogfish appears to be an unlikely predator. Its globular body, reduced swimming capability, and reliance on fin-based locomotion suggest vulnerability rather than dominance. However, these characteristics are precisely what enable its success. By minimizing movement, the frogfish reduces the likelihood of detection by both prey and predators, conserving energy while maintaining a constant state of readiness. Its sedentary lifestyle allows it to allocate metabolic resources toward growth and reproduction rather than sustained locomotion. What seems to be a limitation is, in fact, a finely tuned adaptation that maximizes efficiency within the energetically demanding environment of the reef. The frogfish's influence extends beyond individual predation events to shape the broader ecological dynamics of its microhabitat. As an opportunistic predator capable of consuming prey nearly equal to its own size, the frogfish exerts significant pressure on local fish and crustacean populations. This predatory impact can influence species composition and behavior within the immediate vicinity, contributing to localized trophic cascades. The presence of a frogfish may alter the movement patterns of small reef organisms, effectively creating a zone of heightened risk that extends beyond the predator's physical boundaries. In this way, the frogfish functions as a microscale regulator of ecological interactions, demonstrating how even sedentary organisms can exert profound influence over their environment. Sensory adaptations further enhance the frogfish's capacity for environmental control. While its visual acuity is well suited for detecting nearby movement, the frogfish also relies on its lateral line system to perceive subtle vibrations and water displacement. This mechanosensory network enables the detection of approaching prey even in conditions of limited visibility, ensuring that the predator remains attuned to its surroundings despite its immobility. The integration of sensory perception with camouflage and aggressive mimicry exemplifies a multi-layered strategy that maximizes predatory success while minimizing exposure to risk. Reproductive strategies add another dimension to the frogfish's ecological narrative. During breeding events, females release buoyant egg masses that drift within the water column, facilitating dispersal and reducing the likelihood of predation on developing embryos. This reproductive approach contrasts with the frogfish's otherwise sedentary lifestyle, highlighting a dynamic interplay between localized dominance and broader population connectivity. The dispersal of larvae ensures genetic exchange among geographically separated populations, contributing to the resilience and adaptability of the species. Despite its formidable predatory capabilities, the frogfish is not entirely immune to predation, introducing an additional ecological twist. Larger fishes and certain cephalopods may prey upon frogfish, particularly when environmental disturbances compromise their camouflage. This vulnerability underscores the delicate balance inherent in specialized adaptations, where success is contingent upon the stability of specific habitat conditions. The frogfish's reliance on effective mimicry means that habitat degradation, such as coral bleaching or sedimentation, can significantly impact its survival. Thus, the very specialization that grants the frogfish its ecological authority also renders it sensitive to environmental change. From an evolutionary perspective, the frogfish represents a remarkable example of how natural selection can shape organisms to exploit the informational dimensions of their environment. By manipulating visual and behavioral cues, the frogfish transcends the traditional boundaries of predator-prey interactions, engaging in a form of ecological narrative control. This concept emphasizes the role of perception in shaping biological outcomes, illustrating how the success of a predator can depend as much on deception as on physical capability. The frogfish's strategy aligns with broader principles of sensory ecology, where the interpretation of environmental signals determines the dynamics of ecological relationships. Energetically, the frogfish's ambush strategy reflects an optimal balance between expenditure and gain. By remaining motionless for extended periods, it minimizes metabolic costs, while positioning itself to exploit passing prey with maximal efficiency. This approach is particularly advantageous in reef environments where prey availability can be unpredictable. The ability to capture large prey relative to its body size further enhances the frogfish's energetic efficiency, allowing it to sustain itself within frequent but highly profitable feeding events. Such metabolic optimization underscores the evolutionary success of ambush predation as a viable alternative to active hunting. As the reef continues its ceaseless rhythms, the frogfish remains an almost imperceptible presence, a silent architect of deception whose influence permeates its immediate surroundings. The space it occupies becomes more than a physical location. It transforms into a behavioral trap, subtly shaping the decisions of organisms that venture too close. Each successful strike reinforces the frogfish's role as a master of illusion, demonstrating that ecological dominance can be achieved through the manipulation of perception rather than the exertion of force. Ultimately, the frogfish embodies a profound redefinition of power within the natural world. Its authority arises not from speed, strength, or territorial expansion, but from the capacity to control the narrative of its environment. By transforming stillness into strategy and deception into dominance, the frogfish exemplifies the intricate interplay between form, function, and ecological context. In the delicate tapestry of reef ecosystems, it stands as a testament to the ingenuity of evolutionary adaptation, revealing that the most formidable predators are not always those that move the fastest or strike the hardest, but those that reshape reality itself. Through its mastery of illusion and precision, the frogfish rules its chosen patch of reef with silent, undeniable authority, a sovereign of stillness in a world defined by motion. A tiny silhouette darts across the living surface of a coral colony, as drifting sediment settles like a suffocating blanket over delicate polyps. With swift, deliberate movements, the crab brushes away the particles, nips at encroaching algae, and confronts a probing intruder attempting to graze on the coral's vulnerable tissue. The scene unfolds on a scale easily overlooked, yet its consequences ripple far beyond these few centimeters of reef. Here, in this intimate theater of survival, the coral crab exerts a quiet but profound authority. Unlike predators that dominate through violence, this diminutive guardian governs by maintenance, transforming the coral from a passive structure into a resilient, living fortress that supports entire communities of marine life. The ecological influence of the coral crab is rooted in its intricate symbiotic relationship with its coral host, a partnership that exemplifies the power of mutualism in shaping ecosystem stability. Coral colonies, composed of thousands of genetically identical polyps, rely on a delicate balance of physiological and environmental conditions to thrive. Their survival depends on efficient gas exchange, access to sunlight for their symbiotic zooxanthellae, and protection from sedimentation, algal overgrowth, and predation. Coral crabs, belonging primarily to the family Trapezoidae, inhabit the interstitial spaces of branching corals, where they perform a suite of behaviors that enhance the health and resilience of their hosts. By feeding on mucus, trapped organic particles, and epibionts, these crabs effectively clean the coral's surface, preventing the accumulation of materials that could otherwise impede photosynthesis or promote disease. This seemingly modest act of housekeeping carries significant ecological implications. Coral reefs are among the most biodiverse ecosystems on Earth, and their structural complexity provides habitat for countless species of fish and invertebrates. By maintaining the health of their coral hosts, coral crabs indirectly support the stability of entire reef communities. This dynamic illustrates a form of ecological engineering, where the activities of a small organism influence the physical and biological characteristics of its environment. The coral, in turn, offers the crab shelter from predators and access to a reliable food source, creating a reciprocal relationship that enhances the survival prospects of both partners. Through this mutualistic exchange, the coral crab assumes the role of a silent steward, ensuring the persistence of the architectural foundation upon which reef ecosystems depend. A compelling narrative reversal emerges when considering the defensive capabilities of the coral crab. At first glance, the crab's diminutive size and delicate appearance suggest vulnerability rather than authority. However, this perception is dramatically overturned during encounters with coral predators such as crown-of-thorns, sea stars, or grazing fishes. Coral crabs respond with remarkable aggression, using their chelae to pinch, harass, and deter these threats. In some instances, they have been observed actively removing the tube feet of sea stars, significantly reducing the predator's ability to feed on the coral. This defensive behavior transforms the crab from a passive inhabitant into an active guardian, revealing that its true power lies not in physical dominance, but in its capacity to safeguard the integrity of its host. The coral colony, often perceived as defenseless, becomes a fortified stronghold through the vigilant presence of its crustacean allies. The coral crab's role also extends into the regulation of microbial and algal communities on the reef. By consuming excess mucus and organic debris, the crab helps prevent the proliferation of opportunistic microorganisms that could lead to disease outbreaks within the coral. This function is particularly significant in the context of environmental stresses such as rising sea temperatures and pollution, which can compromise coral health and increase susceptibility to pathogens. Through its continuous maintenance activities, the coral crab contributes to the resilience of coral colonies, enhancing their ability to withstand and recover from disturbances. This interaction exemplifies the concept of a hidden symbiotic network, where the survival of one species is intricately linked to the actions of another, often in ways that remain invisible to casual observation. From a behavioral perspective, coral crabs exhibit a high degree of site fidelity, rarely venturing far from their host colony. This territorial loyalty ensures consistent protection and maintenance of the coral, reinforcing the stability of the mutualistic relationship. Many species form monogamous pairs that inhabit a single coral head, coordinating their activities to maximize defensive efficiency and reproductive success. Chemical communication plays a crucial role in these interactions, enabling crabs to recognize their hosts and conspecific partners through subtle olfactory cues. Such specialization underscores the evolutionary depth of this partnership, illustrating how mutualistic relationships can drive the diversification of species and the refinement of ecological roles. The coral crab's influence on reef ecosystems also highlights the concept of keystone mutualism. While keystone species are often associated with apex predators, mutualistic organisms can exert similarly disproportionate effects on ecosystem structure and function. By enhancing coral health and longevity, coral crabs indirectly support the myriad species that depend on coral reefs for shelter, feeding, and reproduction. The loss of these crabs could therefore trigger cascading ecological consequences, leading to declines in coral resilience and ultimately reductions in reef biodiversity. This perspective broadens the traditional understanding of ecological dominance, emphasizing that the maintenance of life-supporting systems can be as influential as direct predation. Energetically, the coral crab's lifestyle represents an efficient allocation of resources within the constraints of its environment. By residing within a single coral colony, the crab minimizes the energetic costs associated with locomotion and exposure to predators. Its diet of mucus and trapped organic matter provides a consistent and renewable energy source, allowing it to sustain itself while simultaneously benefiting its host. This synergy exemplifies the principle of metabolic optimization, where evolutionary adaptations align energy acquisition with ecological function to maximize survival and reproductive success. Despite the strength of this mutualistic relationship, coral crabs remain vulnerable to environmental changes that threaten coral reef ecosystems. Coral bleaching events, driven by elevated sea temperatures and ocean acidification, can lead to the loss of living coral tissue, depriving crabs of both habitat and food. Additionally, anthropogenic impacts such as pollution, destructive fishing practices, and coastal development further exacerbate these challenges. The dependence of coral crabs on healthy coral colonies underscores the interconnectedness of reef organisms and highlights the broader implications of environmental degradation. In this context, the survival of the coral crab becomes emblematic of the resilience, or fragility, of the reef itself. Another layer of ecological complexity arises from the interactions between coral crabs and other symbiotic species inhabiting the same coral colonies. Shrimp, gobies, and various microorganisms often coexist within this shared habitat, forming intricate networks of cooperation and competition. These assemblages contribute to the overall stability and productivity of the reef, illustrating how mutualistic relationships can extend beyond simple pairwise interactions to encompass entire communities. The coral crab, as a central participant in this network, plays a pivotal role in maintaining the balance of these interconnected systems. As the sun's rays filter through the water and illuminate the vibrant tapestry of the reef, the coral crab continues its tireless stewardship, an almost invisible presence shaping the destiny of its environment. Each act of cleaning, each defensive maneuver, and each subtle interaction with its host contributes to the persistence of a structure that supports countless forms of life. The reef, often celebrated for its grandeur and diversity, owes much of its resilience to these understated guardians, whose influence operates quietly yet profoundly. Ultimately, the coral crab redefines the concept of ecological control, demonstrating that true authority in nature is not always expressed through dominance or destruction. Instead, it can emerge from the capacity to sustain and stabilize the systems upon which entire communities depend. By nurturing the health of coral colonies, the coral crab becomes a custodian of biodiversity, ensuring the continuity of one of the planet's most vital ecosystems. This elegant form of governance expands the narrative of power in the natural world, revealing that the deepest influence often lies in the preservation of life rather than its conquest. In the intricate and interconnected tapestry of the reef, the coral crab stands as a testament to the profound impact of mutualistic relationships. Its quiet diligence transforms it into a ruler of maintenance, a guardian whose authority is measured not by the territory it conquers, but by the stability it preserves. As the closing chapter of this exploration of ecological control, the coral crab offers a powerful reminder that the most enduring forms of dominance are those that sustain the foundations of life itself. Through its intimate partnership with coral, it exemplifies a form of leadership rooted in stewardship, illustrating that in the natural world, the greatest power may reside in the ability to protect and maintain the systems that allow all others to thrive.